Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here for another ATS News live stream. Saturday night, we try to unwind from the heavy topics that take place during the week, and we kind of hang out. And tonight, we'll be hanging out with Jen Liu from the Ward Case Studies channel. So if you're not subscribed to her, please do so. And my mods will be linking her channel in chat as we discuss this case tonight we are discussing the Lindsay Clancy case. um Usually this is a more laid back live stream. We're still going to have some laughs, and I'm going to try to incorporate our, like I said, our unwinding live stream of the week. And I just want to preface that I believe that this is one of the best and most important, I should say, not best. But thank you, Debbie. Speaking of best, one of our best mods. Thank you so much for being here. More important trials that are taking place is this Lindsay Clancy one for many reasons. And we'll get into all those layers of everything. But I do want to just give a little trigger warning. Some of the topics that we'll be discussing tonight, including postpartum psychosis, and other, this case is just very dark. Like, I've already seen Shay say something like, "Love you, Amber," but this is a very hard case to discuss. And that's the problem too, is I think, which is what kind of the thumbnail about is, it's like the some true crime cases unfortunately get pushed down into the algorithm because of the matter that is discussed throughout the case. Because this is going to, and another trigger warning, this is going to, and Jen's here. Hello, Jen.
Hey, babe, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining. I'm pretty much just giving our little trigger warning for some of the topics tonight, because it is going to discuss, we are going to discuss, and of course, like I was saying, the algorithm kind of hides certain topics. So
Yeah.
I'm going to, although I really hate censorship, and this really is YouTube's fault that we can't get this out in the algorithm at times, but I have to censor myself a little bit when we're discussing this case. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much what I'm going to tie in, is like, people are pulled to discuss this case, including law tubers, because it is such a unique case in regards to the mental health aspect and the insanity aspect, with the
Yes.
psychosis for her defense.
Right. Right.
And I won't name the channel because I really respect her, but I was disheartened to hear a law tuber say that this was like too horrific for her to discuss, or go stream it live or something like that, like won't
I
be doing it daily. And I was kind of disheartened. Go ahead.
I think I know which, because I think I heard her say the same thing. But she also said that she doesn't do kid cases, trials with kids where kids are victims.
Yeah, and I understand that. How, I mean, if we're thinking of the same person, again, I don't want to drag her because I really respect her and a lot
No,
of people
no.
do. But she cut, because I was looking at her coverage, and like, the Adam Montgomery case, I feel like it can't get much worse sometimes than that case. It was
Did
just
she
interesting that,
cover
like,
her? Did
I
she
don't know,
cover?
everyone has the right to decide like what's too much for
Yeah.
them to stream.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but then I also like wondered, and again, this isn't directed towards her, but like, do people not want to discuss it because it talks about like unaliving and, like, you know what I mean? So that it's not going to be like, you'll get flagged and stuff like that as a channel covering
Well,
certain things.
I'll say this. It's been my experience, and I've covered Adam Montgomery. I covered um, the, I'm sorry, I'm buffering, I'm tired. Why can't Athena Strand? And I don't think it gets worse, um, testimony wise, than Athena's case. And I stayed on green the whole time. I think the problem here, the reason why people don't want to talk about this one, or why some law tubers might be shying away from this case, is because it's very polarizing. People are very
Mhm.
firmly planted on one side or the other.
Yeah.
There are people who firmly, without hesitation, believe that this was premeditated and that she is guilty as charged. Then there are people who believe that she was in postpartum psychosis, and while she should not be free, she is not guilty by reason of insanity, and it's an Andrea Yates situation. But because it involves children, and it is very, very difficult, and the language of the law is very black and white, and mental health and mental illness is not. There's a lot of gray.
Yeah.
And the prosecution has come out as saying that they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which is their burden, that this was premeditated. And that is a bold statement to say.
Yep. Let me give a little summary for those who are like kind of in tune with what's going on, but maybe might not know like certain aspects of this case. And then I kind of want to show you how people have been able to cover it and touch on it here and there. And then I want to show you some stuff that's just kind of like, really? You had to take it there. Like, 'cause you don't need to sensationalize this case.
Right.
But you know that Lauren from Hidden True Crime did.
Right.
And I can't even listen. Her episode this week was not, I have to be honest, because I'm not just going to hate on her every chance I get. There was a lot of in-depth to it. But at times I'm just like, the language, whoever like writes her scripts or whatever, it's like, you don't need to like go this descriptive route.
Yeah. I just want to clear something up.
That adds to it too. Like,
oh,
it's like,
what kind of ads? See, I can't watch her. I go to you for that.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me go through this little summary just because I like to we'll touch on the case and then we'll get into people's coverage and our opinions on it. So the Lindsay, and the thing too about people feeling polarized about this, that's been the sense of this case for years. Like people like seemed in week one, like knew right off the bat, she's guilty.
People felt like that about Andrea Yates as well.
Yeah,
right off the bat,
because this is like my time to watch something similar to that, because they're very rare. Like the psychosis, postpartum psychosis is very rare.
And people, I think, are inherently skeptical of, so I do want to be clear about this. I looked it up to see exactly what it's called. In Massachusetts, the insanity defense is legally called lack of criminal responsibility. A person is not criminally responsible if, due to a mental disease or defect at the time of the act, they lack the substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of their conduct or to conform their conduct to the law. But after the verdict, if the defense succeeds, the judge issues a verdict of not guilty by reason of insanity. That's what Google says.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's all the same thing. They just call it something different wherever you go. And the criteria, not everybody can use any type of it. There are some states that don't have an insanity defense at all, but not everybody qualifies for the insanity defense. Not everybody is allowed to use it. So, but people are very dubious.
Oh yeah,
of the insanity defense.
Like, how can I get through this screening process?
Right. Well, look at Letitia. I mean, she's not the first.
Shmita.
We've
got 14 months.
Yay, Shmita.
Thank you. It's good to see you. But yeah, Letitia, she definitely was somebody that was like, let me try and go for this.
Right. And then you know, when she was tried, they hinted at her jail calls, but then we got the jail calls, and there's so I actually think, if I'm being honest, although I think that the prosecutor did a fantastic job, I think he kind of downplayed the Like, I don't think there's, I know, I shouldn't be, I don't want to say downplayed, but like in a negative way. But I think that, um, I don't think there was a way for him to adequately and accurately really describe those phone calls, the contents of how she was able to, she was literally fine and would, just switch it up. And it was just,
Yeah.
there was no way for him to really talk about that. There's no,
True.
you have to hear it. They
Exactly.
were worse. They were worse than what I thought they were going to be, is what I should say. That's how I should put it. It's not really his fault, but there's no way to talk about that. Those are something you have to hear for yourself.
I agree. It's going to be interesting to see Letitia's next trial too. Unfortunately, we're going there, but we'll be okay. So,
Yeah.
a lot of people also thought, well, gosh, let me just get this summary. So,
Yeah,
Lindsay
do the
Clancy
summary and I'll
case
be quiet.
is one of the most widely discussed criminal cases involving postpartum mental health in recent years. The central legal question is not whether Lindsay Clancy caused the deaths of her children. Both the prosecution and defense agree that she did, but whether she was legally, criminally reasonable at the time because of severe mental illness. And on top of this, isn't part of the summary, but on top of the mental illness, like due to postpartum hormones, it seems a lot of people, and again, I shouldn't be surprised, since like when I went through my kidney stone surgery and stuff when I was only 4 months postpartum this year, like the people are very like, I don't know, it's not highlighted enough how much care and healing goes into postpartum. Like they're now realizing that the symptoms, like whether it's psychosis or depression or anxiety, OCD, all these things comes from postpartum that
Right.
lasts up to 2 years.
Right.
So whether like maybe when Andrea Yates' case was going on, like I don't even think, because this is kind of new stuff that's come out like through research.
Yes.
People think like, oh no, that's just the baby blues and those are over within 6 weeks. Like this is not the baby blues, and I've already seen people kind of reporting on this and covering this, like mixing up even postpartum depression with postpartum psychosis, and they're not the same.
No, they're miles apart. And while sadly postpartum depression is common, postpartum psychosis is incredibly rare.
Yeah.
It's incredibly rare.
So I think that's another thing which I'll show you. Like I've already seen it firsthand. Like people who are educated and have large platforms that should kind of know better, but then again, it shows you how educated and sorry, but it like kind of ignorant people are to what takes place for the woman, and then we tie in, which happens in a lot of situations, not even mental health, the over prescribing of the medications.
Right.
And the
Well,
doctors that you're bouncing around talking to who actually aren't even talking to each other
right.
about your care. So that was also something that's been like brought up to everyone's attention in this case specifically, because it's deeper than just the postpartum psychosis. It's
Right.
the medications and the doctors, and numerous doctors and nurse practitioners who were handling Lindsay in postpartum time, who weren't even communicating with each other. So it says the incident on January 24th, 2023, Lindsay, a labor and delivery nurse from Duxbury, Massachusetts, was home with her 3 children, Cora 5, Dawson 3, and Callan 8 months, according to prosecutors. So of course, this is their narrative. Lindsay asked her husband, Patrick, to pick up some takeout and run an errand. While he was gone, she allegedly killed the children by strangulation using exercise bands. When the attempted unaliving by, listen, she took a blade to her, I believe, both wrists and her neck. So we'll lay that out there. And jumping, we put also, I wanted to say a hotline pinned in the description or the chat that is for postpartum help hotline. And I'll be linking stuff in the description for another hotline in regards to the self-deletion talk that will be discussed tonight. She survived, but was left paralyzed from the waist down. Cora and Dawson died that evening, and Callan, the 8-month-old, died several days later. The charges are 3 counts of first-degree murder, which she has pleaded not guilty. Earlier separate strangulation-related charges were dropped. The defense is her attorneys acknowledge that she caused the deaths, but argue that she was suffering from postpartum psychosis, a rare psychiatric emergency that can involve hallucinations, delusions, and an inability to distinguish reality. The defense argues that she experienced severe psychiatric deterioration after the birth of her youngest child. She sought treatment repeatedly. She was prescribed numerous psychiatric medications. She lacked criminal responsibility under Massachusetts law because of her mental state. The prosecution argues the killings were planned, not a product of psychosis. They contend evidence will show she intentionally sent her husband away. She knew approximately how long he would be gone. She acted methodically during the window. Her behavior demonstrates planning and awareness of what she was doing. Their position is that she understood her actions, therefore is criminally responsible. Her husband, which now it's come out through the headlines and it seems pretty verified that they are divorced, but he is still standing by her side and like wants to be there for her defense. He's People have said he's remarried. I'm just adding in the details because people have been
Mm-hmm.
talking about it in the threads. And I don't blame him at all for moving on because I think he knows this is going to end with her in a mental hospital for the rest of her life or in prison. Hopefully, it doesn't go that way, in my opinion, because he just knows. And plus, a lot of times, child deaths, like in a family, like a lot of divorces take place afterwards. That's just statistics. In this case, of course, it's unique in its own because Patrick, unfortunately, is the one that walks in on finding the
Right.
children,
And
and it's like he deserves happiness.
yeah, but he's
So
also going to be the first witness.
Yeah.
So
And he has publicly expressed love for his wife. There was a quote that he had said over the years on Facebook about how like he didn't marry a monster and like it was the disease that like took over and the lack of care during her postpartum like reach outs.
but I'll say this for Patrick, because this is I've thought about this. Even if you accept, right, as it seems he has, that this is mental illness, there's no cure for mental illness. It's always there. And I just if when somebody is capable of murder, which whether it was, they're going to argue back and forth, but let's just say for the sake of argument that it was absolutely postpartum psychosis. I just don't know. I'm being very honest here. I don't know if I could forgive somebody like that and continue to be with them, standing by them,
Right.
sure, supporting them, sure.
Yes.
Trust, but being in a relationship with them and knowing that at some point they might be released from a mental institution, and then they come home to me. No, I'm just being honest. I just
Right.
I don't know that I could do it. I don't know that I could ever trust.
And I'll say, guys share your comments. Like, would you move on like Patrick did? But still, he's there to support her. He's filed his own wrongful death lawsuit in regards to the children's deaths based off of, the paper trail, which will be shown during this trial of her going to checking herself in clinics. She went to one of this top mental illness hospitals in the country. She wasn't seen by a doctor for 3 days, and she was only there for like 5. Because unfortunately, it was like during Christmas time and like it was like a skeleton crew and all this stuff. But even without that, like I can say from just dealing with stuff through, the medical, like I have like kidney stones and stuff. So I do go to the hospital and stuff like that. Like I believe it when she says that it through the civil suit that like she wasn't even seen, and we'll find this out too because the doctors and stuff are going to testify. But can you imagine checking yourself into the hospital desperately in need of help and you're dealing with like nurse practitioners or a physician assistant, and you're just like, I need to see like a doctor. You know what I mean? She was
Right.
desperate.
And I think too, doctors have to be careful now about what they prescribe, because they always have to keep an eye out for people who are seeking.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. And I mean, there are a lot of layers to this case. I'm streaming it, right? You knew that.
Oh no, but now I do. So I'll
You didn't
definitely
know
be
that?
popping.
I could have sworn
I think I
that
figured you would, but
yeah. And I have decided that I'm hesitant to cover this as well. Not for any other reason than but I think it's important. And I'm no longer hesitant, but I was initially hesitant to cover this because I think, speaking as a woman, I brought my ovaries and my uterus today, and I am a mom. What I see this very frequently. I see women, mothers, tearing other mothers down, being very judgmental. Mom groups are horrible. I cannot imagine if when my older three were younger, when they were little, if the internet was what it is now. It's not like we didn't have the internet in 1995. It just wasn't in everybody's living room the way it is now. And you certainly didn't have it on your phone. And my daughter will show me stuff in mom's groups, and I gotta say, ladies, come on, y'all, we got to do better for one another. We got to quit being so judgy. We really do. We got to quit. Yes, generally speaking, right? Motherhood is a great thing, but it's hard. Very, very hard. It's a very, very really and truly thankless job. You don't get told that you are not appreciated, seriously. And I know this from experience. I didn't appreciate my mom until I had kids, and my kids didn't appreciate me until they had kids. And not all of my kids have kids. So 50% of my kids aren't even there yet. Only 50% of my kids appreciate me. Okay. Or understand what I went through. Right. So I think we got to do better with each other as women.
Oh, I agree.
And encourage mothers, because when you're struggling with kids, and look, children are little humans. They come with their own personalities, they have bad days, they have good days, just like adults do. But as women, I think it's sort of passed down to us, and this comes from an older generation. I'm sure on some level I passed it down to my kids unwittingly. And I want the younger generation of women to do better for each other. It's okay to talk about the struggles. It's okay to say, I'm frustrated with my kid today. That's okay. Talking about it is okay. Kids can be frustrating. They're people. People are fucking frustrating. It's okay to talk about it. And we shouldn't be shaming each other like that.
And what's crazy too is like Lindsay, she reached out to her parents. They came to help out during the postpartum time. She reached out to her in-laws. They were there. So it wasn't like a situation where it was like she had nobody to turn to and nobody was helping her. Like her immediate circle was helping her. The people who were not helping her were the doctors she was reaching out to. And that's how I see things.
Yeah.
And I think that the civil case from Patrick, that Melly went through it, and I know that Defense Diaries went through it. And so, this case is so significant because it sparked, worldwide attention and discussion about postpartum depression versus postpartum psychosis, how mental illness affects criminal responsibility, psychiatric treatment during postpartum period, and how courts evaluate insanity defenses. So, and that's just the minimum of what's kind of going to be touched on, I think, as far as society kind of understanding this case. And I hope a lot of people cover it, one, and I'm glad you are too. And I hope that people kind of open their eyes to what exactly takes place like during that time. And people I saw in chat asked, I heard something about the medications prompting or a predisposed bipolar disorder that she had. And there is talk of that happening, that she was going through like kind of manic episodes a bit and like lost all this baby weight like right away, which people don't realize this. Like when you have the baby, like the size of the wound inside of you is the size of a paper plate. Like you are healing and, you know, the baby's out of you, but inside, and a lot of people, I think, kind of forget about this, like with it's called bounce back culture, which is like society, especially in the US, like gives this like
realistic
pressure. Yeah. Of, you know, bounce back, lose the baby weight, get back to work. So I guess at first, Lindsay with the last one, who was 8 months old at the time of his passing, at first she was like working out and she was like happy to be like on this regimen at like very early in the morning workouts. She lost the baby weight. She even like toyed around with like an MLM, I guess, like about like Beachbody or something. And then like after that high of like something new and like I've lost the baby weight wore off, it seems like then certain things started creeping in as far as like her mental illness, like slacking. And I think it's like, it's so many layers of things. And as far as Facebook.
But the law is this is where I think we're falling short. I understand as a society, we got to draw a line, right? We do not want people saying, oh, well, because if you think about it, murder on its face is irrational. There's, if it is not self-defense, and you're taking, I mean, what do you need to defend yourself from children for, right? That's ridiculous. Little children like this. So on its face, this is an irrational, and we don't want an irrational act, and we don't want people, you know, every time we turn around say I was insane. And I understand that, and that's why the language of the law of what the criteria that must be met. And what it's really going to come down to, honestly, and it's going to be the jury instructions. That's where a lot of these cases with very nuanced legal terminology and the jury instructions. And let's be fair. We know that there's been at least one case that we can both think of right off the top of our head, Amber, that has taken place in Massachusetts where the jury instructions were accidentally on purpose confusing as fuck. Right. So this is very.
That's why I've got my eye on this case too, because of the state it's in, and I'm like,
me too. That's another reason that I was like, But I want to say this. I'm not going to cover this case the way I usually do, or cover this trial the way I usually do. I'm not. I'm just going to take a wait and see approach. I'm just going to address the testimony as it comes. And I don't have any fixed ideas. I don't have a fixed, this is definitely not like Athena, where I absolutely knew, and he also pleaded guilty. But we knew the monster. We knew exactly who was the monster in the courtroom, right? I don't have that. I don't have that here. So, hey, Carolina. Hey.
And hey, Allie, it's okay. I know you. I wanted to invite you, of course, anytime. You're welcome.
Hey, and, Amber, I'll be right back. I'm listening to you, but just give me a few minutes. I'll be right back.
No problem. Okay. I just wanted to touch on an example of just the misinformed public on the mental illness taking place in this case specifically. And again, I'm not going to pretend to know what every single medication is and what it does that she was prescribed. I just know that she was prescribed numerous ones from numerous doctors who were not communicating with each other on the care for Lindsay. And unfortunately, this is just an example. This was in a true crime Facebook group. And, I did send the laughing emojis back at this person because this had been a conversation that was going on like a few posts before like this screenshot was shot. And like this person just was very ill-informed about postpartum psychosis, depression, anxiety, etc. And as you're trying to explain it to them in the chat, like they say something that's just like, you just proved my point that you are not up to speed on certain things to kind of comment on this person's guilt without understanding what's being talked about. And she said, I've known 2 people who had postpartum depression. Neither one killed their children. Not an excuse. Good try. Not ever an excuse. And I said, OMG, you just proved my point. LOL. Postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis are 2 different things. So, I mean, that I don't know. Like, I've seen so many comments on Facebook and on YouTube videos. I'm going to pull up also, but that kind of just gives you an idea. Like, these people don't even know what exactly is being talked about. Hi, Toe Beans. Good to see you. And anyone else who I didn't say hello to in chat. I'm just trying to go through things with somebody on panel. I'm not the best multitasker. Another person who kind of had like a cringe Facebook post I saw was, and I complained about law tubers who were saying that they didn't know if they wanted to cover this, and I was a little disheartened by that. But here's a law tuber, one of the first on YouTube too. Scott Reich from Crime Talk. I don't know if you guys know him. Like, I can tolerate him. He's not my favorite. For law tubers, I watch Defense Diaries, like Bob and Ali Mata. Loved them, always have, ever since I really stumbled on them during the Delphi case. But, sometimes I'll look at what Scott's got to say, but this had popped up on my algorithm on Facebook. And I didn't know how to take his post. And, I even talked to my husband, like, how would you take this in quotes here? Because I ended up commenting on this as well. And I got like 15 likes or whatever on my comment that I said in this. But he says, and it starts off in quotes, I too have heard these command voices. I too acted on the command voices, end quote. This was 5 days ago. Jury selection officially commenced in Plymouth Superior Court for high-profile murder trial of Lindsay Clancy, the Massachusetts mother accused of strangling her 3 children in January 2023. The 35-year-old former nurse faces 3 counts of first-degree murder of the deaths of 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan. While her defense team does not dispute that Clancy caused the deaths using exercise bands, they have entered a plea of not guilty by lack of criminal responsibility, insanity. In a surprising and emotional heavy development for the proceedings, Patrick Clancy, Lindsay's husband, ex-husband as we now know, and the father of her 3 victims, the children, will take the stand to testify in his wife's defense. That's going to be I'm going to be following your coverage, Jen, as well as Bob and Ali Mata's. But I just know if I share shorts and stuff, certain testimonies are going to be hard for me to cover. But I'll definitely share a shorts probably throughout this trial. So if you guys are looking for something during the week, I'll be putting those out while I follow their coverage. So Patrick previously detailed in a civil wrongful death lawsuit against medical providers that his wife had experienced terrifying auditory hallucinations, including a male voice telling her it was, quote, her last chance, end quote, and that she had to, quote, take them with her, end quote. And then he says, have you ever heard of postpartum, quote, command voices? And I don't know, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if it's because of me kind of just knowing how Scott Reich is sometimes. And like, he does have a sarcastic tone. This is obviously a Facebook post, so you don't know exactly how he's saying it. But I didn't like how he ended this whole thing with like, have you ever heard of postpartum? And it's in quotes, command voices. And like, I even asked my husband, like, why did he quote it like that? He said, maybe he was just quoting, what Patrick was saying or like a lawyer was saying. And I said, yeah, I know. It almost came across to me as he was saying, like, it wasn't like a real, like he hadn't heard of it or something. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that he said
It's
command voices in
it
quotes and
it
people
comes
were,
across a little condescending, is I
yes,
think what you're trying to say. Yes.
that's how I took it. And I was like, instantly, I go down to the comment section. I don't know where my comment is. Okay. Postpartum psychosis is real. Not sure what postpartum, and then I put in quotes, command voices are, but postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, and postpartum invasive, intrusive thoughts are all real. I hope you knew that prior to this post, Scott.
I mean, they are real. Look, this is what separates postpartum depression from postpartum psychosis. And
Mm-hmm.
postpartum psychosis is very rare. But with the only other case that I know of that was a true case of postpartum psychosis was Andrea Yates. And look, Texas initially, they didn't weren't she was not allowed to present an insanity defense. She was tried twice. Her on appeal they allowed, and then she was retried and was allowed to use the insanity defense. So when Andrea talked about, or when they finally were able to talk to Andrea, let me be very clear about this. And these are details about Lindsay's case that I don't know, and I don't know them intentionally. Allie, I know, and Amber, I know Allie has done multiple lives on this case. I feel like Amber's has also done multiple lives as well, but I have intentionally avoided the coverage for this reason, because I just want to handle this one a little differently. I think it requires a different style of coverage than I normally do. So I could find these answers out if I wanted to. I just want you guys to know I'm not sitting up here like ignorant on accident. I'm purposefully not wanting to look. I haven't looked into these details because it took them a long time to even be able to talk to Andrea. She was, and the big argument was, and this is why they charged her initially with first degree murder and would not allow the insanity defense, because she waited until Rusty had gone to work. And they said they felt that legally, under the law, that is the definition of premeditation. She waited until she knew she would be alone with the children and it would be uninterrupted. Nobody would try to stop her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their argument. And I hear that is the state's same argument.
It seems so, but like she was alone with the kids all day for hours. And then, once dinner time came around, she texted Patrick saying, it's been a busy day. I didn't make dinner. Do you want to grab XYZ from XYZ place? And he says, yes. And, like, if she had all day to do this, you could argue. You know what I mean? Like, he was alone with them all day, and people, the prosecution, the Commonwealth is trying to say like, no. And then to top it off, she looked it up, how far away the restaurant was to know like her time span of how much time she had to do this. And it's like, you obviously have never been a stay-at-home mom, because there's times that I'm home and like, I know my husband is on his way home and I'll look up like how far he is like away from our house, like through Life 360. And I'm just like, oh, I just want him to get, like, sometimes I'll even need him to pick up milk or something at the store after. And I'm just like, I just want him to get home. Like,
right. Exactly. Look, being so a full-time stay-at-home mom is very, very hard. And I don't think, I don't think people, until you've done it, I don't think the average person can really appreciate that. How
I do want to touch
isolating
on
it
that
can be.
person's question. No, go ahead, but I want to pull it up again to
Okay.
kind of touch on it when you're done.
I want to, it can be very, very isolating.
Mhm.
And even when you have a strong support system, it is incredibly difficult because it's human beings. I'm people. I know I can be very judgmental. It's something that I'm working on. I'm always working on. But people, when I mean, think about if Lindsay had said, um, you know, there are days I just don't like my kids. That is on it. When somebody hears that, they're like, it's like the antithesis of motherhood. But it's it's very hard for women. I'm having a hard time right now. It's hard for women to articulate comfortably how what they're experiencing as a mother because they don't want to be judged.
Yes.
And that's why I say,
No
like,
matter how you answer, sometimes you will be.
exactly, exactly. Um, I think, and so you know, this this is an incredibly complex case. It's not. It's nobody's arguing about who committed the crime, right? They're not arguing whether she killed her children or not. That is an
Mhm.
established fact. This is an affirmative defense. What they're arguing basically is she going to be held criminally responsible? And will she go to jail or prison, I should say? Will she go to prison or will she go to a secured facility?
Yeah.
That's really what this comes down to.
Was she in the right mind at the time of the crime, or was she out of her mind at the time of the crime? And Weedmonger says, "Is there ever postpartum joy?" This is another thing that, and I don't mean to bash you, Weedmonger, but there's another thing that's kind of that's not even postpartum. This isn't even postpartum psychosis. This is postpartum depression. Talking about you could be postpartum depression because you love your baby so much, but you're depressed because you don't think you're doing enough for them. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I can't stand my baby. You know what I mean? And I think that
Right.
people think that that's what postpartum depression is. Like, you could have
No.
postpartum depression because you couldn't produce breast milk for your baby.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not
Right.
just all of a sudden you hate your kids and all that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Exactly. And this is something that I think is a bigger discussion. Look at how, um, okay. So when I was pregnant, there was a movie with Hugh Jackman and not Hugh Jackman. Um, he's the one that was married to Elizabeth. Oh God, what is it? 9 months. The name of the movie is 9 months.
oh, yep, I've
You know who
seen
I'm
it.
talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a while.
So, and I was 18 when I was pregnant. Okay. And up until that point, now remember when I was raised too, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. Okay. And the way that they portray pregnancy is it's like, yeah, the woman is hungry all the time and she kind of gets moody and whatever. And then there's this moment where she goes into labor and the husband's panicking and running around and trying to get the things together to go to the hospital and whatever. And then they come home with this baby, and that's pretty much where the movie ends, right? Well, that's the idea. That's the ideal situation. The truth of the matter is, what they don't tell you is the truth of it. Okay. First of all, not every woman is able to deliver. And I don't want to say naturally because any way you have a baby is naturally. Whatever way is safest for the mom and the baby, that is natural. But if you have to have a C-section, nobody tells you that. And you know what else nobody tells you? And I'm telling you this from experience of having 4 C-sections. Nobody tells you how other mothers judge you, as if you somehow did something and you're a wimp
Mhm.
because you couldn't push your baby out. No, I had preeclampsia. And then with my first 2 pregnancies, and you can't, after you've had 2 C-sections, can you have a VBAC? Sure. Is it risky?
Dangerous.
Absolutely. And did I want to take that risk? No. So I had 4 C-sections. It was what it was. But
Yeah.
there's judgment there.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
they don't tell you that no matter which way you have a baby, whether it's a C-section or the other way, the traditional way, let me say it like that, traditional or C-section, Nobody tells you how your body is a mess. You're leaking from
Yeah. And
everywhere.
I guess
Okay?
for Lindsay okay, so obviously she was pregnant 3 different times. When she was pregnant with her first, Cora, there was like an abnormal ultrasound that she was all worried about, and then it
Right.
ended up turning out fine, but it sparked postpartum anxiety for her. And so there was a little bit of history of like things taking place for her throughout each pregnancy that were kind of troubling. But she managed through it, they said, through like exercise, and that like helped the postpartum anxiety. For myself, like my first kid, I had postpartum anxiety because I had a miscarriage like prior, and I was
Mm-hmm.
in fear the whole time I was like pregnant, like it's going to happen again, you know what I mean? And then like it
Yes.
trickled into postpartum time where it was like of course, lack of sleep, which apparently Lindsay was experiencing like insomnia. So we're talking
Right.
about lack of sleep, which is vital to mental health,
Absolutely.
postpartum hormonal drop, and pharmaceuticals being shoved down her throat.
Right. And they don't, people, I think we need to talk about these things as women for sure and stop being so critical of one another. Because the
Yeah.
truth of the matter is, with your first baby, okay, that's another thing. People think, oh, you can sleep when the baby sleeps. Well, what if you have a baby like I had? My oldest son would do anything. I don't know if I think he was just born with FOMO. I don't know if he thought we were going to have some kind of fantastic time the minute he closed his eyes. And I would literally be rocking him, telling him, please just go to sleep. Please sleep just for an hour. All I want to do is take a shower. I stink. I promise I'm not going to have any fun. I just want to take a shower. If you'll just let me take a shower, I would. And this is me talking to well, he was in the NICU for 6 weeks. So this is me talking to, and that's another thing they don't tell you. Sometimes your baby doesn't get to come home with you right away, and it's nothing that you've done. By all
Mhm.
accounts, when I was pregnant with my first son, I did everything they told me to do. If they said eat it, I ate it. If they said don't eat it, I didn't eat it. If they said do it, I did it. If they said don't do it, I didn't do it. I did,
Mhm.
and I was healthy. There was, nobody could have foreseen preeclampsia. Preeclampsia wasn't in my mom's history at all, and nobody on my mom or my dad's, none of the women. It's not in our history. Nobody foresaw this. So, it is what it is, and then when you have subsequent children, especially for
Oh
me,
yeah.
there's a big age gap between my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter, and they were school age. So that 3 o'clock 4 o'clock feeding would happen, and look, I don't know why baby manuals continue to tell parents this. Inevitably, yes. Does the baby start to fall asleep when they're taking their bottle? Absolutely. But everybody knows that right at the very end of the bottle comes the poop and the pee. And the whole process starts to over. So it's not like they
Especially,
go immediately back to sleep.
yeah.
So for me, I had to get the kids up and ready for school. School started at 8:20. They had to be there. So they had to have breakfast and get up and all of the things. So I was staying up throughout the day because then I had to go get them after school. And I got on such a bad sleep pattern that after little mini Bindi was, oh gosh, like one, almost two, the doctor was like, listen, I don't want to say this. I don't want this to come out the wrong way. Don't take me the wrong way, but you look like you haven't slept in like, the entire time this child has been alive. And I explained what was going on. And so that is the first time they ever gave me Ambien.
Yeah. And
And it helped. It
yeah.
helped.
And that's the thing too, is like, for case in point, look at this. So I thought, it'd be nice if I could link a postpartum help hotline, just to have it there.
Yes.
And I go to Google to pull one up, and look what like first comes up in your Google search. prescription treatment website.
Yes.
And it's like, but then it says like, call us, and it's like, I get it, but at the
But there
same
are women
time,
that are adverse. They don't want to. That don't want to take medication
yeah,
because they're breastfeeding
yes,
and they're worried.
that
And
happened to Lindsay.
it is what it. They can tell you all day long and twice on Sunday that it's safe, but the truth of the matter is, and this is just the truth. I don't know another way to say it, but the funding that goes into research when it comes to women's health is significantly less than it is for men. It just is.
Yeah.
And this is something this has gone on throughout history. Don't you think by now we are in 2026? Don't you think that we are advanced enough as a society and science that there could be a birth control pill for men?
Yeah.
But do we have one? No.
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 Have you ever noticed, speaking of the coverage on this case being strange and all over the place, that court TV is always like a pro prosecution like vibe?
Yes.
So I've just seen, like you said, this case is very divided and like polarizing. And I was curious what Vinnie Politan's comment section was on the video that he did of it the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, some of these like users and comments, I was like, are these just bots for the prosecution? Listen, autopsy pictures may influence the jurors more than a husband's testimony. Prison for life. We can't continue to let people get away with this. Her husband is crazy too, which, mind you, he's going to be like the key
Rusty
witness.
Yates was as well. People feel very strongly about Rusty Yates as well.
Interesting.
For the same reasons, because the doctors told him.
Oh yeah,
she
I remember
cannot, because
she telling me about this.
She had a history of postpartum psychosis. It was so the doctor had told her, the psychiatrist told Rusty, she cannot have any more children.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now there is a thing on HBO Max, and it has to do with cults. And there is a specific episode, several episodes. I think it might be actually the whole documentary. It might just be about Andrea Yates and this cult. Now, I haven't watched that yet because you guys know that I have the Nuggie, and my time without the Nuggie is very limited. And so, but she's going to be starting school. So there are a lot of things that I want to watch and catch up on, because I'm very interested in what that is all about. I mean, look, Rusty had Andrea living in a bus with the children. I cannot even imagine what that was like. And Andrea's psychosis revolved around religion. She was absolutely fervently convinced that her children were not her children any longer, that they had been possessed by demons. And she absolutely heard command voices. And not only that, her auditory hallucinations, some of them actually came from the children themselves, to her mind. Not that they were actually saying these things.
Yeah.
But that was her perception. And like I started to say before I left, it took everyone, her lawyers and the evaluators, a long time to really be able to talk to Andrea. She was almost in, and she stayed this way after she did what she did. She I know she sat on the front steps, and I feel like I know she made a call, and I want to say that it was to her mother-in-law. Anyway, she was sitting on the steps when first responders arrived. She didn't move. And she's pretty much stayed in that semi-catatonic state for quite some time. It took a while for them to be able to even speak with her in any meaningful way where they could even evaluate her.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and I also want to say this before I forget. Sorry, Amber. I know you want, this is your show and I don't want to take over, but if I
No,
forget
you're
to say
good. I
this,
love
I'll
having you
be
on.
kicking myself in the butt. There have been motions made in the interim during the whole jury selection process. Okay. And about what testimony will be allowed and won't be allowed for the public to hear. Okay. One of the motions was filed by Patrick himself. The 911 call will not be played for the public. The jury will hear it, but the public won't get to hear it. So if you are apprehensive about hearing the graphic testimony, because at this point she has agreed, right, that she's done this. So it's not really a question of that. And that's the part I'm really the most interested in covering. But I feel like there's no way for me to talk about it unless we hear it all. So they're really limiting the that type of testimony for the public. The jurors have to hear it all. But for us,
that's going to
we're
be
not going to
so
hear.
traumatic for them.
Thank you, Carolina. I could not remember if Andrea called 911, but so there you go. If you're apprehensive about watching the trial because you're worried that you're going to be inundated with all this really graphic, horrific testimony, you won't be. So I would, I just think we have an opportunity to learn something here. It is horrific. It is a sad case. It's awful. But I think we got to do better as a society with mental health issues. We just do. We're not doing a good enough job. I always say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So
I totally agree.
Even if you don't watch with me, I know I'm not for everybody. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I don't, not everybody's brand. Not everybody likes my flavor. That's cool. That's fine. But please, I would encourage, us. I think this is an important topic.
Absolutely. Which is, it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you guys know who Sylvia Plath is. She was like the American poet.
Oh,
Yep. Born in the 30s, died in 1963. Like, she suffered from manic episodes and I think bipolar as well, but then also the postpartum psychosis and depression. And she didn't kill her children, but she took her own life into her own hands. And you'll see that there is like a correlation with medications that she was put on too, right before she did it.
I mean,
so
history does not lie. The reason that it's called, the reason the word where the root of the word hysterical and hysteria comes from the root word histo, which is the prefix they used for the uterus.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. If you really want your socks blown off, just take a trip down the historical archives of how women have been treated, with what types of things they used to do to women who suffered from anything that they, I mean, in Salem during the witch trials, which, some of the stuff was described as, like witchcraft. People thought, that some mental health illness they blamed on a woman being a witch. The things that they did to quote unquote treat women who had what they perceived to be mental illness is abominable. And I got to tell you guys, it's not like we're that far out from that, like in the years wise, we're really not.
The Salem witch trials is the same state that this Lindsay Clancy one is in.
Right.
So many people evaluated the civil, specifically once the civil case from her ex-husband Patrick came to the public and we started combing through, what his side of the case is.
See, I knew you had covered it. I knew you had, Amber. I'm sorry. I
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I
thought you combed
people
it.
Who had. I'm pretty sure Allie, and like I said, Melly. So those are pretty much the people that I've been like following in Defense Diaries for the law tuber for this. But what it's like, shoot, what was I saying?
I threw you right off. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. Oh, it's like some people were wondering like why we're even here, as far like she should be in her mental hospital, and that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
fact that it's gone to
I'm
this and
I'm
it's the
actually
same state.
surprised.
Yeah,
I'm
and but then when
actually
you think
surprised
about
that
the
they're
history
seeking
of the
it.
state, what they
Yes.
did to Karen and even Kelsey Fitzsimmons, like all this stuff, like
Right.
it just seems like for some reason Massachusetts is not that
Massa-
far away from the Salem witch trials still,
it's
it seems.
not. No, that Massachusetts does not have a very good history or a history of treating women well. They really don't. It's just facts.
And so I'm going through Vinnie Politan's on Court TV and I'm like, these comments are so like pro prosecution and like hating on the husband.
Hmm.
Fight me, but Patrick is no hero. He left her alone, then divorced her, married someone, and will build a brand new family. They say it takes 3 years to heal from divorce. Imagine losing 3 kids. Where's his grief for the 3 children? Just go make more? 87 likes on that. Of course, her husband isn't openly blaming her. He wants to get paid. It's crazy Patrick didn't think to get delivery. And the thing is too is like he gets the text while he's at work. Mind you, he works for Microsoft. He's a software engineer, which is what my husband does. Like it's very demanding, like the job. Like believe it or not, people don't know it. Like it's a very I took that also as like an added element to all this. Like yes, he did have parental leave when the baby was born and he was home with her, but he went right back to like there wasn't, I don't think, time where he took like vacation time and then like stayed home. Like it just seems like his job required him to be there, like a demanding job and field that he's in, and that he probably thought when he got the text from her saying it's been a busy day, can you grab dinner, he probably thought I'm helping by going to get it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like so for people to
Yes.
like blame him for not getting delivery, it's like he thought by just going to pick it up like it was helping her. You know what I mean?
Yes.
This is also a lie. So mind you, I'm questioning if these are bots and stuff in Court TV's segment because I'm like, what the heck kind of comments are these? These are the top comments.
These
So
are.
after
I
blaming
gotta tell you, I gotta tell you, Amber. These are more than likely not bots, babe. They're more than likely people. This is just people, peopling.
it could be
Monger said
definitely,
that
it
this
just
mental
seems like
health
these are
conversation is out of control. Just take responsibility for your dumb actions.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean, okay.
I guess since
They're
they
not my
are
actions.
pro
So,
prosecution, these are probably the people who are like leaving the comments. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like wild, and I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if they filter out like certain comments just to keep, I don't know. But it says she never told her doctor she heard voices. I think they did the best with what they knew. Like, what are you talking about? And you guys are going to see a clear documented like reach out from Lindsay to multiple doctors and multiple nurses. So it's just wild to me that like people are commenting on things that they don't even know.
Right. As if they're facts.
Yes, and people are like, "Oh, like the comment I pulled up when you walked away was somebody on Facebook saying like, "I know 2 people who had postpartum depression. Neither of them killed their kids." Like, what are you talking about? We're not even talking about postpartum depression. So
Right.
those were just some wild comments that I saw on Court TV, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like, people are really coming for her.
They are. And it's
After, yeah, go on.
I stayed away from this intentionally because I was so hoping that you would bring up the lawyer, because I saw this. I knew he was going to, I saw the live when it was happening, and I started to click, turn notification on. And then I was like, no, ma'am, Pam, get your thumb away from that. You're not watching any of that. Wait till, wait till the trial. So.
Yeah, and like I said, there because of the polarizing like opinions on this and because of the mental health aspect of this, I think it has, mind you, the graphic nature of this and the talk of what Lindsay wanted to take into her own hands. Like, it's all stuff that, like, I get why law tubers are kind of hesitant.
Right.
But I was happy to see that Peter was going to discuss this, and I won't play this the whole video, but he's kind of approaching this, like you could see in the title, I'm going to cover the Lindsay Clancy case differently. Here's why. So I
Because,
thought that this
yeah,
was remarkable. The comments too, as a nurse of 29 years and as a human being, I want to thank you for your approach to the case, for your openness, for your fairness, and for your love of justice. You're focusing on the right things, and that's because you truly care about all the right things. I've watched you for a long time, but only recently started commenting, blah, blah, blah. So praise, obviously people were happy. There is a big difference between postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. These terms are not interchangeable. So I feel like he and other people have as well kind of have mentioned it, like, as they'll say, like, postpartum depression. It's like, wait, no. We're not talking about that.
no, we're not. We're not. Postpartum psychosis is a completely different beast. It's not the same. We're not talking about comparing a German Shepherd to a Labrador in the fact that they're both dogs. They're not. This would be like comparing, okay, postpartum depression would be a German Shepherd. Postpartum psychosis would be a lion. They're not even, yes, they're both animals and both mammals, but they're completely different in every way, you know? So that's what this is like. And I think that at the crux of this, and this is why we're talking about mental health, because mental health is at the crux of this. There is no argument about did she do this or not. This is a affirmative. This is an affirmative defense. She's saying, I did do this, but there are extenuating circumstances. And in order for us to evaluate the veracity of the extenuating circumstances, the mental health conversation has to take place, because this is all about mental health. Where was her mental health in that moment? And I think that's, if I'm guessing, I'm pretty familiar with the lawyer, Peter. And I would imagine that is how he's covering it, not about whether or not she did this, because that's not what it's about. But can the state prove
intent, I guess, or
no, premeditation.
Premeditation,
Which, to be fair, on the states we have, premeditation isn't like planning for an extended, there's no set fixed amount of time for premeditation. The premeditation argument, I would imagine, is going to be when she picked those exercise bands up and you put them around the children in a way that would stop them from breathing. That is premeditative enough. That's enough. Just that action alone. That's probably going to be their argument. Now, what will the defense, and they're going to be limited on their defense witnesses. There was that they're allowed in. There was a late disclosure of an expert witness, and they're not allowed to testify for the defense. So will they be able to overcome the state's evidence? Will the defense be able to overcome the state's evidence and prove that she was in a state of psychosis? That's really hard. These are hard things to prove.
Yeah.
And they're hard for people to understand.
Luckily for her defense, you're going to see, like I said, there's more than one doctor who handled her. There's if she had never reached out for help, because a lot of people, believe it or not, even with postpartum psychosis, they live in their own minds and they don't want to reach out because they're probably scared to lose their child, or there's so many different reasons. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if Lindsay had never reached out, I might feel differently. But she reached out so many times that it's like, I think it's going to be hard to kind of say, because did Andrea Yates like reach out for help like prior?
Yes.
She
well,
oh wait, they put her on medication.
She was on medication. She had been on a psych hold for quite some time between the last two children. It was between her second to last. Well, I guess, what does she have? 5 children. Let me just look it up. Hold on a second.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I've remember this case, all the things, how many children she had.
Yeah, I don't even know what year that was. Hold on.
5 children in 2001.
Oh, wow. Yeah. 2021. Then so there was more than one trial. It says her first trial took place in
Yes.
2022 and then retrial.
No, baby, 2002.
Oh, yeah. 2000. Oh my God. It's so crazy.
And then in
how far away.
2006.
Yep.
Because they wouldn't allow her to use, there were 5 children. So she had 5 children. So the reason that she drowned her children in the bathtub is because her postpartum psychosis told her that these children had been possessed by demons, and the only way to rid them of the demon was basically, because this is a religious issue, surrounds her religion, was really to destroy the vessel, which would be to kill the children's body, and then their souls would go to heaven. She
Apparently.
thought she was releasing them. And so Shmita says, well, she thought, she's doing this to 3 children knowing the outcome. Well, the thing is that the argument is, I don't know what the argument around her specific, what her psychosis was, why, like, we know Andrea's. So what were the command voices? What were they telling her to do? What
I know about that is she said, like, that they were telling her at the time to go to God, baby, and that she was going to meet them in heaven. That's why she threw herself out the window.
I see. So yeah,
that's the defense. So in Peter's comment says, "Hi, I'm new here, and this is an extremely important trial. As a nurse who worked in psychiatry, I am hoping that all people learn something about how difficult it is to experience symptoms of depression, anxiety, hallucinations, and unaliving ideations. I know it can be hard to understand, but keep your mind open to learn. This exists, and getting appropriate treatment can be so hard. What a tragedy." And then there's women who are sharing their experiences. "I had postpartum psychosis. It was bad. I thought my best friend's boyfriend was trying to kill me and my 6-month-old twins. I barricaded myself in my apartment for 3 days until my mother got me to mental health hospital. Thank goodness I didn't do anything to my twins or myself. I needed to get help." And so I know somebody, I haven't seen her in years, but I heard through the grapevine, and of course I won't name her or anything, but she suffered from postpartum psychosis, like didn't even remember the first year of her child's life.
Mm-hmm. It happens.
And at one point was accusing her husband of SA against her, like thought like literally thought that had happened or something.
The hallucination is very real.
Mm-hmm. It says one needs to understand psychosis to understand this case. It is not just postpartum depression.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard. Yes, Carolina, to answer you, I do think I do think Andrea Yates suffered from hyper-religiosity. I do think that I do.
An added element to the
I think that yes, I think that Andrea had a couple of different mental health issues
coming ahead at once.
I'm looking at what Katie said.
Let me pull that up. And for those, Paul had said earlier that he was sorry I dealt with postpartum anxiety. My second one, luckily, I did not. So I was much more calm and relaxed the second time around. And he's almost 2, so I'm still technically in the postpartum stage.
Yeah. I
And so
cannot believe it's 2. Who told him he could grow?
I know, I can't even believe it. Like, time has just gotten away
I know.
so fast.
It has. Okay, I understand. Okay. So what you're asking, Katie, I got it now, babe. Okay. I think that I hope I have it right. I'll use the
No, she did. She was telling Patrick was aware of like all her ups and downs, like, and apparently he even went to one of the doctor's appointments with her and like
yeah.
spoke with the doctor himself and was like, like he was involved in her aftercare too.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I'll explain it like this. So people who are paranoid schizophrenics often report that the voices in their head tell them that not to take their medication. The medication is poison. That the people giving them the medication are trying to kill them. So unalive them. So sorry, Amber, I forgot.
No, you're good. I don't censor it when it's
Okay.
murder. Just
Okay. Okay.
because the bots are more touchy with the other one for whatever reason.
So, okay. So if to get rid, and the voices are very intrusive and they say the most horrific things, and everybody's voices are different. So the way to get rid of the voices is to take the medication, but the voices tell you the medication is poison. That is how postpartum psychosis works.
Yeah.
You are in a state of completely altered reality. Your brain is still your brain. You know what you know. But your perception of what's actually happening around you is changed. It's skewed. And it is that perception that is so skewed that tells you you have to do it because you it's all coming from your own brain. This is why it's so complex, and this is why it's so difficult for to handle in regard to the law, because it is your brain. You always know what you know, but you're in such a state that your perception of reality is so altered that what you are experiencing is reality. Whereas everybody standing next to you or around you, they're not experiencing your reality. And it's like when people are schizophrenic and they have auditory and visual hallucinations, they are real to them. Absolutely 100% real.
Yeah.
Just as real as I am talking to you right now.
Yeah, it would be like taking mushrooms or LSD and then like hallucinating, but like you're not on drugs.
But see,
like
when you
that's
take
just you
those
open your
types
eyes.
of hallucinogenics, when you take hallucinogenics, you don't see things that are not. I mean, you do. It alters. Well,
Yeah,
I've taken them. I've never seen anything like I did. A tree wasn't there that just suddenly appeared that wasn't there before. The way the tree looked was completely different.
It can alter
it
shape.
alters it.
Yes.
But when people's but it's real.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm tripping on some acid and Amber is not, and I say, Amber, do you see all those tracers coming from that tree? Of course she's not seeing that. She's sober. I'm not.
Scary.
But to me, it's very real. That is a very watered down explanation. It's not the same for psychosis.
And imagine having to take care of the 3 kids and the newborn, or you know what I mean? Like he was only 8 months old. Like I doubt he's sleeping through the night. She couldn't even sleep anyways. She's not getting adequate sleep.
Right. And not having sleep will also cause you to hallucinate, both auditorily and visually.
Yeah. And
Matt, like the premise of A Nightmare on Elm Street is actually something that does happen. There is if you deprive the body of sleep for an extended period, for a long enough time, you can go into psychosis.
Yep.
So the premise of A Nightmare on Elm Street does have like a tiny little kernel, a root, and some truth. Okay, I'll be right back. Give me just a sec, okay?
Okay. And Matt brings up, what the defense is saying about, so because the Commonwealth is saying she looked up how long on her maps it was going to be for Patrick to go to the restaurant versus the house, the distance and stuff. The Commonwealth is trying to say, like, so she looked it up to determine, how much time she had for each child to, unalive that or to kill them. But the defense is saying Lindsay looked up her maps to see how long Patrick would be gone because she was afraid of being alone, not pre-planning murder. The defense says, yeah. So, and I believe that too. Imagine she's hearing these voices, walls are closing in on her, and she looks up like, how far away is he? How long is it going to be till he gets home? These comments, Peter, love your show, love your dialogue. It's imperative to understand that postpartum depression. So this is the gist I'm getting. He used the words as if they're the same thing, postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. I love Peter. I'm not trying to drag him. I think that this is a perfect example of us as a society, and even him being a man. Like, these are different things, and it should be noted and kind of corrected for the next streams talking about this, that postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis isn't about feelings, and they're not interchangeable terms. There's a true physical response to a woman's body after being pregnant and giving birth that can send hormones to a level that literally affects the mother's brain and function. I'm oversimplifying it, but it has a real physical and mental effect. And then you add the fact that the medical doctors had her on an array of medications. Well, unfortunately, in my opinion, you've created a perfect and tragic storm. The whole situation is so unbelievably sad. Thank you for covering this in such a thoughtful and respectful way. Blessings. So we've got her not sleeping. We've got intense, hardcore medications going in and out of her body for weeks at a time. And we've got just the hormonal drop that takes place for every woman after they have their baby, all combined at once, and then there's 3 kids who are in need of her, and apparently she was breastfeeding the baby for a while. That's a whole job in itself. Here is another comment. And again, I think the criticism isn't to kind of, oh, look at this comment, they're really dragging them. It's to kind of highlight that it's more than just what's being said about this. Like, it's not postpartum depression. Like, we kind of have to emphasize that in channels that have the audience, especially law tubers and, people who have a huge platform. Like, we need to make sure the terminology is correct in totally understanding this case in the legal sense, and also just to educate ourselves on medical terminologies when we're talking about postpartum. It says, because Peter, go ahead.
Well, because I think where the misunderstanding comes from is they're not interchangeable, but it starts with postpartum depression that gets so severe that the depression leads. Postpartum depression can lead to postpartum psychosis. They do go together, but they are not interchangeable. They are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The depression going into psychosis is it's not something that happens all the time. It is actually kind of rare, true postpartum psychosis. So I think that's like a big part of the conversation that, yes, she probably, and I cannot oversimplify. And if you guys don't believe me, and please don't believe me, look it up for yourselves. Really look up what Ambien is. What it actually is. Ambien, yes, it is used to treat sleep disorders, okay? But it is a hypnotic. And that is why so many people who take Ambien report doing things and not having any memory of it. because it doesn't, and that's why it's so important to understand. And I am speaking from personal experience. I did not understand what Ambien was when I was first prescribed it. And I don't know what it was that made me decide, because I mean, I've had many prescriptions over the years, and I can tell you I've only read the pamphlet a handful of times. But for whatever reason, this one time I decided, let me actually read this freaking pamphlet that they send your ass home with. Okay, so I was reading it, and that's how I know what it is. That's what I learned. You don't remember what you're doing because people expect that they're going to take their Ambien and they're going to feel sleepy and groggy and then go to bed. But that's
Oh
not
my
how it
God.
works. Ambien works by training your brain and to get into a healthy routine. When you got it, what you have to do is you have to prepare yourself for bed. You got to get yourself your PJs on, brush your teeth, take your Ambien, and then get into your bed. You cannot take your Ambien downstairs in the living room. I speak from personal experience. Okay. When I first started taking Ambien, I would be making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for no freaking reason. And people cook on it. That's why people drive on it. But the bottom line is there people don't understand what Ambien is. Then you take Klonopin. Klonopin and Valium. Both of those are benzodiazepams. They both work the same way. They control brain activity, and they do have a sedating effect. They will make you sleepy. But if you're taking things that alter your brain chemistry, and we're talking about a woman who's just given birth. So her brain chemistry, her whole body is completely out of whack. Your body loves
Exactly.
nothing more than homeostasis. It's always trying to achieve homeostasis. When you're taking medications, and I'm not anti-medication. I'm anti not understanding medication. And the best people to speak to about medications are pharmacists. That's who understand the medications. If you have concerns or worry, don't listen to me. I'm just a YouTuber. Okay. Talk to your pharmacist. They will tell you exactly what the side effects are, what your medication is supposed to do, all the things, so that you understand on a chemical level what it does and it will do to your body. That's who you should be talking to when you're throwing a bunch of brain chemically altering substances at the same brain, which is already chemically altered because of a drop in hormones. And that's assuming that everything else is just how it should be. She might have already had an underlying mental health issue.
Yeah. And some people are like, oh, but the baby was already 8 months. Why is she suffering these postpartum ailments so late? And it's like it varies for each person. And when you're breastfeeding, it actually keeps you in postpartum longer, because when you wean, your hormones change again. So not only do your hormones change after you've had the baby, but after your milk weans, like then it changes again. So I know that
Exactly.
she was breastfeeding the little one, but I don't know how long. But at some point, that means like there was probably multiple drops and changes in her like hormones and brain chemistry, in addition to being prescribed overly. So she says, but why? Thank you for your comment, Justice Jane. But why was she seeing 4 doctors? They definitely overprescribed her. So I believe 2 of her visits with doctors were ER visits. So imagine being that like desperate for help that you're not even waiting to go see your OBGYN or your nurse practitioner. Or sometimes even when I bring my baby into the pediatrician will make me fill out a postpartum feelings sheet as well. So
Good.
it's not even, yeah, it is. Like, it's annoying when I have to get the paper clipboard and I'm like, oh, I've already got like the baby bag and my purse and all this in my hands. Now I got to fill this out. But like the pediatricians are also checking in with the moms too in a lot of cases. But I'm saying Lindsay was so desperate that she was up and leaving and going to the ER multiple times.
Right. Which, an emergency room is for emergencies. And if you're feeling like you're going to, you're out of control mentally yet. But but an emergency room is only there to stabilize you and evaluate what your next move is.
Mm-hmm.
And, if they don't ask the right questions in just the right way, and sometimes they do ask the right questions, there's also a thing called misdiagnosis. I was complaining of not being able to sleep. And what I was expressing to my psychiatrist was, I cannot get my brain to stop. I can't get my brain to shut off. Well, that is that's common language for people suffering from bipolar disorder. And they were throwing all manner of medications at me to treat bipolar. And one of them, Vistaril, which is really just, they give it to, it's like a Benadryl, okay, which would be fine for other people, but I can't take Benadryl. Benadryl has a sedative effect on other people. If I take Benadryl, I'm hyper.
They gave that to Lindsay too.
It's like doing a line for me. I'll be scrubbing grout lines. And I didn't know that when I took it. And I kept taking it and taking it and taking it. And I would call the number, or, your clinic or whatever, the on-call. And what they would say is, okay, well, we've given you enough of a low dose that you can actually take 2 a day, or you could take 3 a day. Well, not understanding what it was that they were giving me until my sister, she's like, Jen, what are you taking again? And I explained it to her, and she's like, oh my God, that's like Benadryl. You can't take that. And I had no idea. And that's why my anxiety was never getting better. That's why I wasn't able to sleep. It took a long time. And not only that, I think psychiatry is like dating. You might go out on 111 billion dates, right? Until you find the one. Finding the right psychiatrist, finding the right therapist is exactly that. You have to find the one that fits with you. It doesn't mean that the other people that you've tried, they're not bad at their job. They're not incompetent or whatever, but they're people too. And so you have to find the right person for you. And that takes time as well. But in the interim, what's happening to your mental health? What's going on then? You're in between, or and also medications. I mean, there are a few medications that once you take them, they immediately you have an effect. Benzos are one of those. If you are anxious or whatever, and you take a Xanax, a Klonopin, Ativan or whatever, right? When any of the benzos, you're going to immediately have a calming effect. But it takes a long time to get on the right medication, be diagnosed correctly, then on top of it, get the right medication at the right dose. It takes a lot of work. So to me, hearing that the baby was 8 months old is not all that's not surprising.
Yeah, exactly. And pretty much also, so she went to the ER twice, so that accounts for 2 doctors. And then she went to the mental health hospital, checked herself in. So that was another doctor that she was dealing with. So it's just, you'll see once the trial starts, like the paper trail and the proof of people caring for her that weren't even in communications with each other or in agreement with what her diagnosis was. This comment says, Peter, please take the time to understand the different terms that you're going to be used. There really is a big difference between postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. Neither one is the baby blues. It is important to understand how they are different. Thanks so much for wanting to cover this trial any possible way. So I'm only going to play his little intro, but I thought that this was like, I commend him for, even though it seems as though like even this subject is over the head of Scott Rice, I think, and maybe Peter is going to be brushing up on some of the terms also, because again, I'm not knocking him because I love him, but it just seems like I've seen already like 2 large channels basically.
I have every faith that Peter will educate himself. I think he will read his comment section, and I think he will learn. And I think he's going to learn through the trial anyway.
Yeah.
That postpartum depression is not the baby blues.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, and yeah, I think that you play that. Let me not. Let me just shut up for a minute.
It's good though. It's like you'll see his intentions in the beginning of this stream are good. He wants to cover it any way he can. And then, like I said, the feedback they're kind comments. You know what I mean? No one was a
Yeah.
jerk.
The fact that he's willing to be open and he hasn't made up his mind, I think that's why. And look, the lawyer, you know, does. I mean, I've gotten in my comment section many times when I have talked about how much I like him. I've gotten comments in my comment section that he's just the absolute worst, which I never delete those comments because everybody's allowed their opinion, right? As long as it's not abusive or whatever, you know, I'm not gonna let him be just dogged in my comment section.
Yeah,
but
and at least he's trying to
touch on and I think that is commendable. And besides the fact, look, I can cover it and talk about like this kind of stuff, right? But when it comes to the legal aspect, I'm not an attorney. I'm not. I think I have some like basic understanding, but I would never haul my cookies into if I were being sued, I would never haul my cookies into a damn courtroom and think that I am smart enough to go pro se. Hell no. I would get an attorney immediately.
So for people in law tubers who are kind of like, oh, I don't want to touch on this. This is an example, and I'll show you. Even Scott, even though I felt like his Facebook post was a little bit, I don't know how to take that. He even finds a way to do a couple second segment on it too. So it's possible to touch on this case from their perspective, and this is why.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the episode of The Lawyer You Know, and we are on to, I believe, day 3 of jury selection in the Lindsay Clancy trial. And we're going to cover this trial, but we're going to do it a little differently than we've ever covered a trial before. And the reason for that is I don't think it is necessary to go into every single gory detail or fact or to explain it again or recap it or highlight it. But there are some facts and some details that are incredibly important for us to understand how our justice system works, but not just through the eyes of a criminal defendant in a case where a crime is charged and somebody is being prosecuted. Also the civil side of this, the medical side of this, our societal questions we have around insanity type defenses and pharmaceuticals and doctors and criminal defense attorneys and criminal defendants and mental health institutions where people can get inpatient treatment from. We're going to have all of those kinds of discussions throughout this case while focusing on the details and facts presented in this trial in a way that we can learn from, that will not be over sensationalized, that will not be overly dug into just to make all of us miserable with how sad the facts of this case truly are, which we can all agree with. But all of that can be true, and there can still be so much that we can learn from discussing this case. So if you guys are interested in that type of coverage, let me know.
So that's going to be his approach, and it's, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, like,
yes,
I'll tune in for the recap.
That not what we talked about? Like, that's how I wanted to do. Peter.
Hold up. When did he
Peter.
post that one? No.
Peter. Well, I just, these are all important questions.
They have the platform.
Exactly. Yeah. I have a very small platform there, and there's no shame in that.
No.
He has a much larger platform, and the fact that he is willing to do it in this way, I commend him for, and I appreciate. And this is why I like Peter, because he seems to me like he's one of those people who is like, yes, I went to law school. Yes, I know the law. Yes, I know how the law is applied, and I can explain these complex legal concepts. But there's a human element to all of this. All of these cases involve real people, real victims. And I do think there's something to be said for wanting to not cover details that don't actually need to be rehashed because nobody's arguing them. There's no need for that.
Right.
You know, I think that, you know, there will be, if I remember correctly, when I was reading that whole, what the insanity or whatever is, you know, you do have to, I mean, they're going to somewhat have to prove the guilt of her in the first place, that she is, even though, because she's pled not guilty. It's not like she's pled guilty. So they do have to prove that they are the right place to have the jurisdiction and all of that. But I do think that there's something to be said for not having to discuss ad nauseum these elements of the crime that are really not in dispute. And I agree with him, and I appreciate that he's taking that approach. I really do.
And I loved how he used the word like without sensationalizing.
Yes.
So keep that in mind while I bring up Hidden True Crimes video. But
oh God, are you going to torture us with them? Come on, Amber. No. Don't you like me anymore?
Just a couple minutes of it, because you got to see the right way to approach this, and then you'll see how not to approach this.
Okay.
But then again, she's getting the clicks and views, and it was in depth. But I'm telling you, when you see it, you're just going to get a totally different vibe from Scott and Peter's.
And there are some people who like that vibe. That is just not the way. I don't like it like that. I think the stories that we cover in true crime are horrific enough. I don't understand why we need to add extra to it. Aren't they bad enough? Exactly. Like I'll never understand that.
On the docket, a jury has been seated in the Lindsay Clancy trial. That's right. Jury selection for Lindsay Clancy's murder trial has concluded, clearing the way for opening statements to begin next week. So today, the Plymouth Superior Court Judge William Sullivan seated a full panel of 18 jurors, 12 women, and 6 men for the case. The process, which began earlier this week and involved screening hundreds of potential jurors, proved quite emotionally taxing due to the nature of the expected evidence. Opening statements are going to start on Monday. Now, for those who aren't familiar with this case, it's going to be good, and we are going to bring it to you as well. We'll be live streaming it, so come check it out. But Lindsay Clancy of Duxbury faces 3 counts of first-degree murder in the January 24th, 2023 deaths of her 3 children, Cora, who was 5, Dawson, who was 3, and Callan, who was 8 months. Prosecutors allege that she strangled the children with exercise stretching bands inside the family home before jumping from a second-story window, an act that left her paralyzed from the waist down. She is being held at the Tuberski Hospital and has pled not guilty. Separate strangulation charges were previously dismissed, basically saying they were cumulative or redundant. So that makes sense. It doesn't really matter when you have a murder charge. Anyway, the defense plans to argue that Clancy lacked any criminal responsibility due to postpartum psychosis and the effects of psychiatric medications that she had been prescribed. Now, prosecutors contend the killings were intentional and planned, pointing to evidence that Clancy actually asked her husband to leave the home on an errand and used mapping tools to estimate his return home. Patrick Clancy, who has continued to support his wife and is expected to testify for the defense, filed a motion seeking to limit public and media access to certain sensitive evidence. The request covers the 911 call he made after finding the children and photographs of the children taken before their deaths at the scene and during the autopsies. His attorneys argue that dissemination of these evidence would cause lasting emotional harm to the family and disrespect the children's dignity. Now, Judge Sullivan is expected to rule on that motion by Friday. Patrick Clancy has also filed a civil lawsuit against medical providers alleging that they over-medicated his wife. I believe she was on some 11. We'll wait for the official testimony in court, but I think she was on some 11 psychiatric medications. Throwing a little postpartum depression. I don't know. You never know. We have to wait and see. But the fact that of the 18 jurors, obviously 6 are alternates, but 12 are women, I think that's going to help. I mean, you got the tough, most women say, I would never hurt my child. But if they've ever known anybody that suffered from postpartum depression, that is not good. And people oftentimes think about doing terrible things. So throwing some psychiatric medication, boy, this could be an interesting trial. It's going to be interesting.
And again, let's just keep the terminology postpartum psychosis.
Right.
Because it's confusing people when people are saying postpartum depression. It's like, where are you getting that from, though? Like, her own lawyers aren't even saying that.
Right.
Like, the terminology matters. And again, you're able to cover it. But let's just get the terminology correct.
Right.
Okay, Lindsay Clancy, I talked about what happened on January 24th. She took the life of her 3 children. She jumped out of a second window after cutting her neck.
This just shows like some more of the medications that she was on. We don't really need to watch the rest of this, but it, it's a whole shitstorm. Now
Right.
I think we can kind of unwind a little bit if that's possible. But here's how
Yes.
you don't cover this. I'm only gonna play like the first couple minutes. But you can just tell like right off the bat that it's just like, who is writing this script for her?
Last
Right.
day Lindsay Clancy spent with her children seemed completely ordinary. Ordinary in the best way. A family at home together on a cold January afternoon in Duxbury. Lindsay, a labor and delivery nurse, bundled her 3 little ones into their warm winter gear, and they ventured outside and into the yard of their colonial blue Cape Cod style home to build a snowman. Lindsay snapped photographs of the moment while her children's small hands packed snow into shapes. And if you didn't know what was coming, and I don't think anyone could have imagined what was coming, you'd simply think that this was just another winter afternoon, a beautifully ordinary winter afternoon. A mom and her 3 littles making memories in Massachusetts.
Oh, look at those babies.
Inside that same home, a home with weathered cedar shingles and black shutters, something was already unraveling, the familiar humdrum of an otherwise ordinary day. Patrick Clancy.
Okay, Lauren, look,
It's just why?
it's extra and it's unnecessary. Okay, this would make, like, if you're writing a book, or if it
Right.
is a podcast with no images and it's just audio only. I mean, even then I find it a little extra, but and not, it's just too much. Why do you, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
there's way too many adjectives crammed into a single sentence.
Exactly.
It's too much. Yeah, way too
Like
much.
a minute in and we're not even talking about like the case yet.
Right, a beautifully, wonderfully ordinary day. You've
But at the same time, it wasn't ordinary for Lindsay. Like it wasn't an ordinary day. In fact, their life was kind of like upside down. That was
right.
this
A
was the
better
whole
way
point.
to explain it would have been from the outside, it would have appeared an ordinary day, but there was something. But to Lindsay, everything was completely not ordinary.
Yeah.
You know, everything was out of whack. There's a way better way to put that. Like, I'd have to sit and write it out
For
but,
months.
Yeah,
Like she wasn't having ordinary. That's the whole
Right.
point of all this.
right. And
Her
that's the thing that
ordinary was
people
not.
don't understand also about mental illness. Okay, you can have, when you're okay, psychosis is something different, but like when you're depressed, people will frequently say, well, I saw so and so on, Thursday and they seemed fine, or they weren't all the time, they laughed, yeah, you're capable of other emotions while you're depressed. I think we have like this idea in our head of an image of what depression should look like or what psychosis should look like. And the truth of the matter is, it doesn't look like that all the time.
Oh yeah. There's no way to say that it would be the same. Like even women who have 100% experienced postpartum psychosis, they probably have all different stories too. You know what I mean?
Right. Like there are a lot of women who've had preeclampsia. And a lot of women that have had preeclampsia so severe that it caused them, like for me, that had to have their babies delivered way early. And their baby had to be in the NICU. And that the overarching elements are similar. But but we all had a little bit of a different experience,
Yeah.
And that's life. And I just,
Lauren.
everything is different for everyone. And I really wish that we would, as a society, stop putting out this ideal image of what having a child, like the actual labor and delivery, looks like, because it doesn't. Even the quintessential birth story doesn't on TV and movies, it doesn't really, that's not how it happens. I mean, obviously, yes, your water does break. That's a fact. Yeah, there's contractions. That's a fact. You do have to go to the hospital.
Water doesn't necessarily break for every woman, too.
It doesn't. Exactly. Labor, it's all different for everybody.
Yeah.
And I will say that, you know, us women, because even at 18, I felt like because I had to have a C-section and because I didn't get to bring my baby home with me for 6 weeks, I felt like less than. Like, what did I do? Why didn't it happen like that for me? Like, I felt like I got ripped off a little bit, but I also felt like I must have done something.
A lot of women who had C-sections feel that way. I'm the opposite. I had 2 C-sections, and it's crazy that I was like okay with it. But then afterward, instead of feeling like you felt, where it's like, why don't I feel like I wish I had the natural quote
Oh, I
unquote,
didn't wish. I didn't wish no, I know C-sections are for me because then I did see, I was at a Thanksgiving, and one of the cousins had, I don't know why, and they thought this was a good idea, but they filmed it or whatever. And they were not in a hospital. They were like, you know, at their home. And, which for me, like I'm not judgy. Have your baby however you want, however you have your baby. But for me, I need to be where the medications are, where I know that it's a sterile environment, where there's qualified personnel. I'm glad that I had C-sections. I just didn't think it would go that way. And then when people say, oh, you just, you know, oh, you had a C-section, I bet it was so easy. It was easy. I had, you know, they'll say, oh, I had labor for hours and hours and hours. I'm not diminishing labor either or pushing the baby out. But ma'am, I don't know if you understand anatomically what they have to go through before they get to the uterus, which is layers of muscles, your abdominal wall before they even get to the uterus.
Yeah, it's like 6 layers or something.
And yeah, it's major abdominal surgery. And spoiler alert, you might get your abs back after the first 2. Maybe, depends on how the surgeon does it. But after the 3rd one, I'll never have a 6-pack. Not at the bottom. I have one. I have one at the top. So I have like a 2-pack. I'll never have my stomach back that, you know, so, it's all
funny,
painful.
Not even funny, but what's crazy too is like people say things like, oh, you're so lucky you had 2 C-sections, you didn't labor, like you just said, right? Well, guess what? A lot of people, including my first one, we did labor. So
I did too.
We went through all this.
I did,
and then
they
for
tried.
them to say, we got to do a C-section. It's like, so it's not.
That's really painful.
People are just kind of like ignorant to the fact that just because you had a C-section doesn't mean you didn't labor.
Right. C-sections after labor are very hard. Like they tried to induce, I mean, they did induce labor. They broke my water. They gave me the seaweed, the whole 9, Pitocin, everything. But as I would not dilate. Same. And as the contractions got stronger, the baby's heart rate dropped and my blood pressure skyrocketed. And they're like, no way, Jose, this is not healthy for her. It's not healthy for the baby. And so we're having C-sections. And then with my second one, the hospital that I had my kids at is the county hospital, still the county hospital, but it's also a teaching hospital. So the doctor, there's a staff doctor that, you know, but I was seen by a resident. And with my second one, the resident that I had when I was pregnant with my oldest son, she was done with her residency. So, but Dr. Lee is who delivered my youngest son. So he saw me at the end of my, middle of my pregnancy with my second son, and he's the one that delivered, but he was also there because I had an amniocentesis. And so all the residents on the labor and delivery were on my case. And so when I went to have my son, and I did have preeclampsia, but if they rolled me over on my side, my blood pressure would go down, and they just gave me the magnesium as a precaution. And and they asked me, do you want to attempt a VBAC? And after I talked to Dr. Lee, who was there when Dr. England did the C-section, he said to me, If you were my wife, I would say no. I saw I saw the way you were cut, and on the inside, not the outside, on the inside. And I don't think I wouldn't try it. And I said, okay. He said, I think it's dangerous. And I said, I wanted to have a C-section. So, so we got to stop mom shaming. However you have their baby. That's why I don't shame people who do or do not breastfeed. It's not what I would have loved to have breastfed. I couldn't do it. It just was what it was, and I'm not less of a mom because that. I think the most important thing is that the baby is fed.
Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing, is feeding the baby? So however you feed your baby is how you feed your baby.
And it seems as though maybe because she was a nurse or she was able to breastfeed, but Lindsay kind of refrained from taking medications that was first suggested to be prescribed to her because she was breastfeeding and she wanted to continue that journey. So it's like she struggled in the mental health aspect, but also like in the aspect of like, I want to give my baby like those antibodies that actually can help my baby thrive. Like her intentions, because a lot of people are like, she just didn't want to be a mom anymore. It's like her intentions, you'll see like postpartum was like,
I don't think people understand.
Like, I want to continue this. And it's like, it doesn't make sense to me. To me, it makes way more sense of why she did this to her own children if she was out of her mind.
Right. And I just want to say also that I was watching The Valley. Do you guys ever watch that? It's like a spinoff of the Vanderpump Rules. They're all grown up now and they have kids. And there's a couple on there, Nia and Danny. Nia just had a baby. They've got now 4 children, 4 under 4. Danny's infamous for saying, but she is exclusively breastfeeding. So she takes the baby everywhere with her. And I watched her trying to explain to her husband how she was feeling overwhelmed and how his response, which was not good. He was not supportive at all. And this is their 4th child together. And then I watched the people on the show also talk about how this season is the first season that they've ever really seen there be sort of cracks in their relationship, that they're always putting on like this facade of everything is okay. And they pretty much handle their business behind closed doors. They don't do it out loud and proud in front of everybody. But it just made me stop and think about, I've watched Nia be supportive of the other moms, the new moms, like on the show, and encouraging because she's the mom with the most experience. She has 4. But I've very rarely seen any of the moms that she's giving the advice to ever ask her how she's doing. And it just made me think, like how sometimes we think we're doing a good job and being a girl's girl, and we all fall short a little bit. So maybe, we will, this case and this trial will help remind us about our sisterhood, ladies. We all got to do a little better.
Another interesting note too is the day of the murders, Lindsay's oldest had a stomach ache. She brought her to the pediatrician. So like that shows you also like there was parts of her mind that were like, I'm
right.
taking care of my children. I love them. I want to make sure she's well. So it was like, what? And then later that day, she hears the command voices, and it's like,
right. That's what's so tricky about that.
Trying to paint this as like, she was done being a mother. Wanted things to that part of her. I don't even understand what they're trying to say. Because all they've said is that she sent Patrick on this,
right, so that she could be alone, so that she would have uninterrupted time. Is what they're trying to say.
And part of what he was picking up was medication for the girl's stomach.
Right, but here's the thing: even in psychosis, it's about what you're aware of. Your brain is still your brain, okay? And so, I feel like a brain in psychosis is really about the perception of reality, but reality still exists somewhere in that brain. And the fact of the matter is, we don't even know everything our brain is capable of. We really don't. There are unmapped parts of our brain. We have no idea, even in 2026, what they do, what their purpose is. So when you're talking about something like this, it's so hard. These are complex, multifaceted, many-layered situations and circumstances, but the law isn't. The law is very, very black and white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's 9 o'clock. I got to get off of here because, I got to be up early, and I feel like I'm going to hang out. Let me smoke a cigarette, and I'll hang out and listen to this.
I've only got like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes left of.
Okay, good. Okay. Then then you'll get to play your video and I'll shut the F up.
my other gripe about Lauren's coverage is we're a minute in and she doesn't have that thing that pops up that says paid promotional. Like, you know how they do. So
yes.
So we're watching and we're like, okay, she's very like sensationalized, of course.
We can't see, babe, because you have the comment, babe.
Oh, okay. So we get to around, thank you. We get around 13 minutes.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, we're talking about this.
She loved them openly.
She loved them openly.
She loved them openly. Thanks. I mean, the better way to have put that is, by all accounts, everyone who saw Lindsay with her children could tell that she loved and adored her children. She loved them openly. Lauren, who wrote this shit?
She went back to part-time work, breastfed for a year, and life settled into a rhythm once again. But things changed after her second pregnancy.
Ad break.
One thing I think most people know who listen to our podcast is that,
no, sorry, we're not going to be talking about this type of subject. Not only did you add an ad break after people have already watched ads through YouTube, but you didn't even include the paid promotional tab
that you're supposed to.
Exactly.
You're supposed to.
So then I'm like, well, you know what? Oh, a psychiatrist or a psychologist, either or, would be great to hear from in this case, right? Oh, surely John has something to bring to the table.
Oh, God. I see his little face popping up there. Let me go smoke a cigarette so I don't interrupt you. But I'm gonna be keeping all my thoughts.
I'm gonna
stored up here in this cabeza, and I'll be right back.
I'm gonna bounce around to two. Like, if I never watched this channel before and I knew a psychologist was going to be commenting on a Lindsay Clancy segment, I'd be tuning in like, oh, what's this doctor have to say?
Yeah,
it's the perfect case for him.
He's a professional, mental health professional. This is what he evaluates: people's behavior.
Yep.
And the likelihood and recidivism.
So hopefully he brings something to the table. You guys let me know what you think.
There's pressure on mothers to come in with a mask, right? To present a facade that everything's fine. Like, sometimes it's difficult. It's hard to go into a provider and say, hey, I'm having command hallucinations and the voices are telling me to harm my kids. Like,
or to even say you're a mother of 3 and you want to harm your kids. Maybe.
Yeah.
That can't be easy to say. I mean, I as you say, hindsight bias. Even mothers going through postpartum, they'll deny they're even going through it until after the fact. And then they'll look back and say, oh, maybe I was and I couldn't admit it. On December 20th.
So why did we include John in that? I don't understand. I mean, like, Jen, Lou, and I have like brought more to the discussion than he just did there. Now let's give him another chance. He pops up again.
To 20 milligrams per day, the amitriptyline. That night, Lindsay did not sleep.
So she's putting her faith in a system that she works in. She's putting her faith in a system she's devoted to. So of course she's gonna trust that system.
Yeah.
And what happens is they overprescribe all these medications. They don't really coordinate treatment. They don't particularly refer her for therapy. I think she was in therapy for a little bit. It wasn't particularly helpful. She hospitalized herself for self-harming thoughts and behaviors, or at least thoughts, ideation.
She sought so much help.
She was hospitalized briefly and was discharged fairly quickly without really kind of, taking a step backward and trying to evaluate everything that was going on with her. And in the end, according to her, the heart of this, or the key to this, is that they misdiagnosed her, that she really had, it wasn't postpartum depression, it was postpartum bipolar disorder.
Mm.
That the postpartum depression with the wrong medication triggered her bipolar disorder, which became severe and escalated to the point of psychosis. Also, presumably, some of the medication may have had some side effects related to psychosis.
On January 24th, according to Patrick.
So again, like now that we know like so much more about Hidden True Crime and the way that they cover their cases, I think we start to see through like the BS. It's like I'd expect something a little bit more from a psychologist or a doctor to comment on this case, but for some reason Grayson included those clips. I don't think that he touched on anything that even Jen and I haven't been able to kind of recap for everybody. They just put on their thumbnails and titles like psychologist reacts, and it's just like, okay, and what exactly did he just bring to the table? Nothing that we couldn't have already looked up. So yeah, that was my complaint of that coverage. Now, I don't know if you're up to speed on, now we talked about this being the same state as the Karen Reed case, and that being like something that's kind of drawn in certain people covering this case. So I don't know if you're aware of who Jess Mashado is or the drama surrounding her at all, Jen, but she is from Massachusetts as well. She was a turtle rider. She was friends with Turtle Boy, and she's decided that she's going to go and cover this case and go in person to the jury selection and stuff like that. Okay, so you are aware. Okay, so probably that she came on the scene because of, drama, but also she's tried to go after Jolene Lunzer, who is just like, she does her own comedy stuff. And then after she tried to attack Jolene made this clip of her where she's like basically farting on a live stream.
Oh, I'm aware.
Okay, so I gotta play it.
Now I'm crying laughing, and it's too emotionally manipulated too. Yes. Now I'm crying laughing, and it's too emotionally.
Okay, so there's been some drama.
Big drama.
Since she's been trying to cover this case. And again, like, I think that this case needs a lot of attention and awareness and education, and it's a great opportunity for all that. There's a perfect way to approach this case, and throwing in your drama like in the midst of it, like, is not the way to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
she's the type of girl who will cover certain topics. Like, she'll be like, oh, I want to talk about voting and politics, and I want to talk about AI or data centers and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden the show turns into like she's yelling at somebody in chat, or somebody, she's arguing. It's like they add in the drama to their coverage to kind of like get the views and excitement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That type of
just,
person.
I'm not a fan of that. I can't get down with that. Like, I sometimes even question how I do things. Like, should I be talking about my personal experience with Ambien? Should I be? It's not because I'm very worried and concerned, and I keep it in my brain. And I feel like somebody at some point would say something that I always worry I'm making it about me. And I'm not trying to. This is not about me. Like, but I do think there's like with this specific case, I think all of us women who are moms, and yes, there's an element to a biological element to what happens to a woman physically, chemically in her body when she delivers.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, and I'm talking about, but even when, but a new mom, whether it's a mom who's given birth or a mom who's going through, and this is something nobody talks about either, is new moms who have adopted, who weren't, they did not carry the baby themselves. They had a surrogate, or the baby is adopted. Babies don't come with manuals. So being a new mom is being a new mom, regardless of how the baby came to be. And I think that we as women, now I know and I concede that there are some of us women that some women that are on our women's team over here who really, really just they make you not, they do make you question this whole unity and in this, sisterhood spirit and all that because of the way they act and everything. But I do think by and large, seriously, I mean this really genuinely, I think we have to do a better job supporting each other as women, encouraging each other. Your children, and this is just facts, they're not going to tell you, Mom, you're doing a good job. They're just not. I think that comes from other women. And I wish my mom was a great mom. But one thing that I wish she would have done more for me because I was young was tell me I was doing a good job. It would have meant a lot to me. And because I did not get that, and I just think it's something she didn't think about, honestly. I don't think it was something mean or anything like that. But now I've made a conscious effort to tell my kids, you're a good mom. I tell my daughter, that was really good. You did a really good job there. You're a good mom. You're doing a good job. It's hard. And I tell my son, you're a good father. You're a good dad. You're doing a good job, because I think parents need to hear that.
Yeah.
And I think we women need to be building each other up in that way and not be so critical of one another, jumping down, each other's throats because you gave your kid a sip of Pepsi one time because they wanted it, or, you really should have held firm and said no, but you're just fucking exhausted. And sometimes you cannot rationalize with a 2-year-old. You just can't. And sometimes you give in, even though you should have held firm, but you're just exhausted mentally and physically. And so you let them stay up until, 9:00 when just because, or you give in to something, you give them a treat or a snack, or you don't make, you give them cheese puffs with their dinner, even if they didn't eat their vegetable. Just sometimes there are little times when as parents that we make some concessions, but moms especially. I don't see dads tearing each other apart like this, but moms will.
True.
What? You gave them cheese balls? You know what's in cheese balls? It's nothing but crap. Instead of saying, you know what? I get it. We've all had those days. We've all had those days when the laundry didn't get done, or the laundry did get all the clothes are clean, but they're not all folded and put away. There's dirty dishes in the sink. We're not, Donna Reed is an impossible, June Cleaver, it's an impossible
model
standard to live up to, June Cleaver didn't even live to June Cleaver standards, and neither did Donna Reed. They were fictional characters on TV. That's not real life. And we got to quit holding each other to those standards and be more encouraging. But not all that. Like, sometimes we also have to tell each other the truth. I'm not saying we need to be just blowing smoke up each other's asses all the time. No, you got to tell your friends, you tell the truth to. But being critical just for criticism's sake, when you know damn right well that you got a sink full of dirty dishes at your house, come on.
Right. Throw those in glass houses shouldn't cast.
Right. Like, I'm not talking about living like a hoarder. Okay. That's obviously, kids cannot, if you want to live like a pig, that's your choice, but your children don't have that choice. So,
and apparently people weren't appreciative of her coverage already of just like the jury selection. Like, she called Lindsay, she looks pale and she looks empty. And like her descriptions because she's been doing the updates on her ex, right? Like while she's in court, and people are like, oh my gosh, this girl who complains to the drive-through if the bagel doesn't have enough cream cheese on it is going to touch on such a sensitive and like important topic. Like, oh great, here we go.
She's
You know what I
probably
mean?
medicated. And it's not,
Right.
isn't she being held like she's in a
yeah,
facility?
that
So
might
you
be
think
why
she's getting a
pale.
ton of, yeah, she's not getting a spray tan or getting, being able to go outside on a regular basis.
Right. Any idiot
Jesus.
could have been like, well, duh, it's because she's not free. She's, you know what I mean? Like, she's not driving the car or even
Right.
getting a suntan from her car. Like, she's not walking to the mailbox. She's been
not
in
walking
the hospital
anywhere, babe. She's paralyzed.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
mean, why
her-
does she have to be such a dick?
people
Come
have
on,
been
Jess.
critical, right? People have been critical of her because it doesn't seem like she's approaching the topic with sensitivity, you know. And so,
yeah.
so what had happened, and this is just going to end the stream, just to touch on it a little bit, but like what had happened was somebody on X was basically saying that like she's not the one to cover this, like she's trying too hard to kind of redeem her reputation as like, I'm a professional journalist and I'm here in court and blah blah blah, and people are like not having it. They just see it as like fake and disingenuous. So she got called out on it. So then in getting called out on it, Defense Diaries commented on a post that was like critical of her and said like, well, you can watch us, you know. Like, and again, I don't know the exact quote. They'll read through it, but like this was the aftermath. And so again, she's covering this sensitive topic, but then tying in this drama. Like she like messaged, mind you, this wasn't even on her post. It was somebody else criticizing her, or just, you know, and she messaged Defense Diaries herself and was like, I'm gonna DM them. Like, really?
Why?
Yeah. So this is. And this just shows me like you're just trying to stir things up to get more attention to your channel, and it's not about the case or justice.
Right. I don't understand.
And it was somebody that said Jess Mashado has no compassion and is not qualified to cover this Lindsay Clancy trial. Right? And it's like a very disparaging post. And it is sharing either a screenshot or my post where I described what Lindsay Clancy looked like in court on Monday, okay, which was pale, frail, empty, right? This is not a nice post. This is a nasty post, right? Criticizing my work, saying, flat out saying Jess Mashado should not be covering this case or is not qualified or whatever. And in the comment section, the Defense Diaries says, follow our coverage, period. Seriously, period. Okay. Now, I went and read the thread. The majority of the comments on the thread are disparaging towards me and not nice about me. Noted. But the Defense Diaries going in and commenting on that was disgusting. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, come on, lady.
Right.
This is why people feel like they do about you, Jess Mashado. Look, was it disgusting? No. Look, that's extra. That's part of the issue. That's the whole problem. It wasn't disgusting. Writing a comment saying or reading, follow our coverage, period. Seriously, period. It's not disgusting. It's petty. There's a difference. And I would think that a journalist would know that. Because don't you have to take English?
And mind you, it wasn't even on her post. It was somebody else. So like you're just following somebody else's like criticism.
So now you're going to other posts and you have issue. Now you want to control the comments made on other people's posts?
Right.
Come on, man.
Like,
is this your first day on social media ever?
Yeah.
On the internet? The internet is doing what the internet does. And P.S. I don't know what you're doing with your mouth. It sounds like you're sucking on something like a mint or a lifesaver. Don't do that. Don't do that. It is, even for people who don't have that ear thing, I don't know if you're familiar with earbuds or headphones, or they're way better in 2026 than they were back in the day. You hear everything and it just sounds bad.
Don't give her advice on how to stream. She's
Yeah. I'm just trying to, like, I don't know.
No, you're right. I
I'm
mean, it's
trying
like,
this
hello,
new thing,
it's gross.
Amber, called compliment sandwich. You know, where I say something rude and then I say something nice and then I say something rude again. That's
I love it. Take a compliment sandwich, Jess.
yeah,
So-
take the compliment sandwich and say thank you.
and okay, so she's like, is disgusting. Okay, if they wrote it on your post, you know what I mean? Like, again, like they can
It's
write
not
whatever
e-
they want.
Right, but
not
even if they
disgusting, but,
had
like-
did it, yeah, disgusting is the wrong adjective, journalism major.
Right.
Here I
Said
am over
statement.
here with my good enough diploma, and even I know better. Come on, man.
It gets worse.
To the poster. If you are unhappy with what Jessica Mashado is doing, follow us instead. Okay? I took a screenshot of it and I inboxed the defense diaries and I wrote, "This is not nice." And then I left my laptop.
Imagine the audacity to screenshot. This is not nice. Get over it.
Like, move on,
You're
lady.
you're on X, you're on YouTube. People are going to criticize you. It wasn't even on your posts. Like, if it was on your post, like, still saying this is not nice. Like, okay,
Right.
but like, oh my gosh.
But here's
Now,
the
I don't
thing
really-
about that. There are certain cases, right? And I think everybody who, I'm not even a journalist, okay? I'm just a chick who learned how to work YouTube and I have a mouth. All right. So, but there are certain trials that are not, it's not a good idea for me to cover them. I can't give them what they need. I've realized, I thought this year what I would do is just cover every trial, right? And then, but I realized I can't. You know why I can't? It's not that I don't care about every trial. Everybody deserves justice. That's not it. But there are certain cases that interest me and intrigue, and I feel something about more than others. And those are the trials. Those are the cases that I choose to cover. It doesn't mean that I don't care about all of the cases. Following a case and covering a case are two different things. I follow a ton of cases that I don't cover. I'm interested in them, but I'm interested in them in privately. Like they're not cases that I want or feel comfortable talking about publicly for whatever reason. And that's my choice. But when you're not a sensitive person, when you're just very matter of fact, very brash, very blunt, and there's nothing wrong with being that. But when there's a case that requires compassion,
Yes.
delicacy, if you can't do it, if it's not in your wheelhouse, if that's not the type of person you are, then don't try to fit. You're a square peg. Why are you trying to fit in a round hole? You don't have to cover every case.
She wanted attention. So, and you'll hear even more.
See my messages on X on my computer. I do. And I sat on my computer and I decided to write a thread. At no time did I see their response. But I wrote a thread and I wanted to talk about my experience and why I'm qualified to cover the fucking Lindsay Clancy case.
She can't even get the name right.
Now, to their credit, and I don't know who it is, I'm assuming it's the husband. He messaged me back with some sort of like clarification, which he actually posted under the thread when I called him out on it. And he said, I meant like as a supplement to your coverage. No, sir, that's not what you meant. We're witnessing his backtracking, and it's fine. You can do it, whatever. But don't think that I'm not going to call you out on it, okay?
And mind you, her chat at the time is saying things like, we love the Matas, we love Allie and Bob. You know what I mean? So they weren't like on board with like, that's so mean. It's like, read the room, Jess.
Right. Like, just let it go. Why are you making this a thing? It's not qualified. I'm sure you're qualified. I just don't think I think what they really mean is that you don't have the personality required for this type of case. This requires tactfulness and to make commentary on that she looks frail, that she looks pale, that she looks empty, is not taking into consideration that she's in a secure facility awaiting trial.
Probably medicated too.
Right. So she's probably medicated. So what's the point of maybe talk about if she had any reaction to a specific question that was asked, or when they are, because there was motions hearings during this too. So maybe comment on that. And the fact that you don't know that would be a better route to go is exactly why you don't possess the necessary personality to actually cover this case. That's what people are saying. So really continue to go on. You're really just proving the poster and the comments correct. Well played, ma'am. I don't know what else to say.
Right. And they brought up Defense Diaries, I believe, said something along the lines of like, well, you're tweeting live on X, like our coverage is on YouTube. Like, we're not stealing your story. We're not stealing people away from you. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're making a mountain out of a molehill.
You can't steal people. That's not how this works. Look, Amber could share me out every single time I go live. Okay. And there will be people that look at that post and they click and they'll listen. And either they like me and want to stay or they don't. You can't steal people. People do what people do. If they like a creator and they like what they're hearing, or they are intrigued in some sort of way, they will stay. Nobody can steal anybody. We're human beings, not jelly beans at the candy aisle at Kroger. Shut up. What are you talking about, lady? Ugh.
She doesn't know.
Because we're coming off of a month and a half of getting dragged on the internet that you are very keenly aware of. You know, because your message to me privately mentioned the pile-on. So we're 100% aware that you know what happened. That statement was not in response to somebody that said, I don't know, who should I be watching for the Clancy case? And you go in the comment section and say, watch us, seriously, watch our coverage. That's not what it was. You didn't comment. In addition to live tweeting, you can watch our commentary on live stream. You didn't do that either. You didn't even say, we like Jess's reporting inside the courtroom. If you're looking for additional commentary, you can do this. What you did was you literally commented on a shit post about me. Watch us. Seriously, watch us. And you know what it meant, and I knew what it meant, and that's why it hit everybody that way. Now, defenders of you and haters of me are going to tell you that it's not that, and I don't really, and it's why I'm not even going in a back and forth with anybody over it. I know exactly what you meant when you put that there. Comment from was like, but that's the opposite.
And then she continues it. This dragged out for like the whole week. And it's like, you're lucky that you even responded to your message.
Now she knows what everybody is thinking. Now you speak for everybody. And P.S. It's just you on your show, right? Like, who's we?
And it's like, you are just somebody who's in the courtroom tweeting. They're law tubers. Like, what? It's totally different niches.
Right. And also, this JR has it right to begin with. The people who are not being nice in her posts are not her fans. I feel he was talking to the people who don't like her. He was giving a place to go.
Exactly. Thank you, JR. Exactly.
Thank you, JR. Jess, calm down. It's not that serious. And you know what? I'm sure it annoyed you. I'm sure it irked you, right? And you're the one that's making it a thing.
Yep.
You're making it bigger than really what it is. You're giving it life. So now guess what people are going to do? They're going to listen to you, right? And hear your coverage and see what and Then they're going to go over and they're going to listen to the other people's coverage.
Yeah.
Now you are
platform them.
Now you've advertised them. So congratulations. You've done more by your call out than they ever did with their comment. Like, do you even know how this works at all?
No.
Clearly you don't.
Optics of it, just apologize. So I thought about it and I went and I found comments from Allie about the vaping thing. And I did take a low blow at her. And so I apologized to her and I said I was sorry. And I said, I hope you accept my apology. And I wrote that her husband had inboxed me and he said he was sorry and I accepted his apology. And she was like, yeah, great, we moved on. But can I be honest with you? If I'm being really honest with you, his apology wasn't an apology. It was a lie that he didn't know what the original post was. But he knew what the original post was because they were in the comment section of the original post and doubling down on the hate towards me or whatever, you know? And I knew, and he used the words, he goes, I consider this case closed. He used those words in his message to me, like case closed.
Well, yeah, he's a lawyer. It's just legal talk.
But he's basically saying that is a lawyer's way of saying, I no longer wish to engage in this back and forth with you. I'm done. I hear how I see how you've explained how you feel. I have explained my side. We're done here.
And
I'm not going to
be honest with you
to engage and give you look. He's not engaging with her, and she's built up at it. Now she's just made this a thing for no reason, and he hasn't even engaged with her. Imagine if he had engaged with her.
Right.
And you only went over to apologize about the vaping thing because you didn't want to look like an asshole. You weren't actually sorry. That's when you apologize. You should only if I'm not sorry for something I did, I don't apologize.
Exactly.
Because I think apologies are a contract. Like you're acknowledging, hey man, I fucked up. And I'm going to try my very best not to fuck up in that way again. Now, I'm not saying I won't ever fuck up again, but I ain't going to fuck up like that again. Right? I'm going to try. So if I'm not willing to say, if I'm not willing to go that far, then I'm not saying I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
After that, yesterday, I had people telling me that they had said something about me in a live stream. I hadn't confirmed that or whatever. I'm just going to go back to how I originally feel about this.
So she's about to take back her apology.
Oh, no. Jess. You're rescinding your apology.
But she wants people to take her serious and think that she's credible and able to comment on a serious case like this.
There are people who I believe deserve to catch strays right out here from me. And there are people I expect to get hate from out here. And the Matas were in a group where I expected to not get any hate from them or anything at all, right? And I don't care whether or not you say, you know, whatever. It's too late. It's too late. Like, it just wasn't nice. That's my take on it. It just wasn't really nice. You don't need to be in the comment section of a shit post about me, encouraging people to come watch yours, and then backtrack and be like, oh no, we kind of meant it as like a supplement in tandem. Bullshit. Stupid. By the way, I think vaping on screen is gross. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I think eating and smacking like a cow chewing cud in people's ears is gross. So there we are.
Look at what I think is gross.
It creeps me out.
You cannot use that man's name and flesh in the same sentence, TT.
I can't help it. I'm sorry, he creeps.
So in case those didn't, so she says, I think vaping is gross, but farting on screen isn't.
I mean, come on.
It creeps me out.
You cannot use that man's name and flesh in the same sentence, TT.
I can't help it. I'm sorry, he creeps me out. I don't want.
I'm speaking on behalf of myself.
Okay, so we're almost done. This is Lindsay. I don't want to mispronounce her last name, but everyone just refers to her as LG. She was somebody that Turtle Boy was hooking up with. She's kind of part of the reason why he ended up getting the witness intimidation charges. Like, she's that girl in that story.
Gotcha.
Okay, I know that you know that.
I know.
So
I do. Yes.
So the relevancy is she's in the Karen Reed community and she knows Jess Mashado, and like this is her take from her personal experience knowing Jess. And mind you guys, watch Jen Liu's coverage of this trial, and if you want the legal aspect of it, tune into Defense Diaries.
Yes.
And let's get them to 100K subscribers. I'm like 500 away from 50K, but I highly think that the trial is going to be very interesting, and I think that the Defense Diaries are going to give their legal opinion that I'm definitely going to tune into in addition to your streams, because I know that you guys go at different times too. So the live coverage, I think I'll be watching from you, and then recaps and stuff like that. Like
I
I'll be
appreciate
bouncing
that.
back. But I definitely
is this your screen recording?
Yeah.
The battery percentage on your screen recordings gives me anxiety.
It's troubling.
It's very troubling. How are you running around with barely any battery?
I don't know. That sums up my whole life. I'm just praying, all day long that I get through. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. It happens to me a lot.
It just gives me anxiety. All I can think of is like, what if there's an emergency? What if some big dramas breaks on the tubes? You're going to get cut off in the middle of it because look at you.
I know.
No battery.
What if Lauren Matthias does another live stream and then
exactly.
Deletes it?
What are you going to do?
I'm screwed.
We got to get you on a charging program.
I know. I need help. A helpline for battery usage. But yeah, so this is her perspective of Jess covering this case. And I thought it was relevant because it's like, it's not just a YouTuber that's seen Jess's behavior and been like grossed out by it like myself. This is someone who's like closer to the circle of things and is like, this ain't it. This is not where to watch it. And I just thought it was interesting and enough to share.
Okay.
My opinions are my own. I am not speaking on behalf of anybody else. And I know that the Matas would not want me making this statement on their behalf, but I will say on my behalf, and I will assume on the behalf of many others, that it's a fact. Jessica Mashado should not be reporting on the Lindsay Clancy case. Does she have the empathy? Does she have the wherewithal to be commenting on a woman who was arguably going through the worst time of her life and make judgments on her, the complexion of her skin, the emptiness of her facial expression? No. Jessica Mashado is the very last person on this planet who should be commenting on this case at all. She is I would actually rather Kate Peter comment on this case than Jessica Mashado. And that should tell you something. Jessica Mashado has no business being in the courtroom commenting on Lindsay Clancy or what happened to her children and her family. Period. Full stop. Game over. Leave the Matas alone.
And on that note, I want to thank you again, Jen. I've linked your channel in the description box and the chat and the title. So if you guys are not subbed up and you're looking for a place also to watch the Lindsay Clancy trial, we'll be over there on Jen's channel watching that daily. So I'm you
want to
very
come
interested.
Up sometimes too? I would like that. Like maybe, for during the breaks.
I think I can pull something off. I might have to mute it a few times because of the kids, but
right.
I definitely think it's doable to come up for breaks and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll be there. Send me the link.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. Because that's my hardest time is the breaks.
True. We got to fill in those port.
And nobody wants to listen to Jen Liu just talk about nothing for an hour.
Well, the thing too about this case is like we both have our own experiences of like our postpartum, our pregnancy, like all of that is relevant, even if we didn't experience postpartum psychosis ourselves, because it's, if you even just deal with like one postpartum anxiety, for example, like you're kind of educating yourself on these other terms too. And you're like, oh, I know I don't have that, luckily, or I feel like I might be this, you know what I mean? So it's like, I know that we'll have things to talk about, and the witnesses in this case and the testimonies from the experts, it's all going to be very interesting.
Especially on Monday, because Monday is Patrick. He is the first witness.
Gosh.
That's not, and that is something I wasn't going to, I just kept watching it to see if that is going to, is that like, because if that changes, right, over the the course of the jury selection, but it hasn't changed. So because one of the last motions that was made Thursday was made by I think it was the defense, and I know one of the motions was made also by Patrick himself, his lawyer, about the 911 call and all of that. And so I'm very curious if he intends to, if he's also a defense witness. I'm curious how they're going to treat him, you know, on the stand, because for the prosecutor, he's their witness, right? And but you can always tell when there's, like, for example, in the Carly Gregg trial, her stepfather testified both for the prosecution and the defense. And even though the prosecutor was very there were a few times that there was a little of a hint of a tone in a couple of the questions. And it wasn't even on really direct. It really came more on redirect. So I'm curious how the prosecution is going to handle him on the stand. That's what I'm curious.
The prosecutor in this, she seems not so nice.
Yeah.
Like, she seems like, and I don't use this term lightly, like when it comes to like describing women, but like from what I saw in like the court last week, she seems kind of like a bitch.
No.
Yes, I might change my mind, but like some of the things I was just like, damn, like,
yeah,
she's really going hard.
I have a tone, and I don't mean to have a tone, or I'm being condescending, when really what it is, I'm thinking very carefully about the words that are about to come out of my mouth. Like, you can totally tell sometimes when I'm really thinking about the next word I'm going to use, and when shit just flies out. Like when I squawk, like reality. Okay, that is something that just flew out of my mouth one time, and now it's kind of stuck. But then there are other times, most of the time, like when I'm actually discussing stuff of substance, where people say, you know, you come across so condescending. I don't think I'm smarter or better than anybody. Just trying to figure out the best way to.
I've never gotten that vibe from you.
People have said that about me, and they've also called me cold. That I'm not. That I'm cold. But I'm not. I feel all the feelings. I'm just private about it.
Yeah,
So
I think the way that you covered the trials is honestly perfect. Like, as far
I appreciate that.
The empathy, but also, you know, just understanding the legal system and like the motions and stuff that's objected by, and like you're good at pausing and kind of elaborating and stuff. So it'll be interesting. Hey, Austin. Okay,
you.
guys. Again,
well, you do an amazing job at all the things you do, and videos you do a good job. You do a very good job, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I try my best. Again, like there's always room for improvement, which Jess Mashado is like, you need to be a little more humble. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't even expect like Defense Diaries to answer a DM from me. Like if I just message them something nice, like I wouldn't, you know, so like her like messaging them and like, that's mean. It's like, get over it.
Right.
Get over yourself.
Right. Like I wonder what the outcome, and then we'll just leave it with you guys. You let us know in the comments section. What did she hope the outcome would be from sending something, a screenshot of what they had posted, of what they of a comment they had made, and said that they were mean. Like what was the best outcome what was she hoping for? Because I don't understand it at all.
And like, who are you? You farted on numerous live streams to say that when Allie vapes, it's gross.
Right. Why are you so judgy? But also, rules of the playground. Like, it's like these, sometimes I wonder about people. Like, did you ever play on the playground? Do you not remember the rules of the playground? One of the key rules to the playground is, if somebody hurts your feelings, you say nothing. You don't tell them, ow, that really stung. That was really mean. No. You either say nothing or you come back with an even better comment, because once they know that that hurt you, that hurt your feelings, they're just going to do it more. Like, I don't understand these people. I just don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. I mean, if it were you,
they're
Amber,
desperate.
if you had said something that hurt my feelings, I would tell you privately you hurt my feelings, because I care about you, because I know you. But if it's just some other channel on the internet that we were hanging in the same circles because we cover the same thing, we share the same opinion, and our audience overlaps a little bit, that's different. If they hurt my feelings, I'd be like, I just let it go.
Right. No, she's just desperate for relevancy.
My opinion!
And on that note,
we're out. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me, babe. You
Bye.
guys have a great night, and I'll talk to y'all later. I'll see you Monday. Oh, I got
Okay,
stuff
yes.
on my channel coming out, so just be on the lookout. I've been working on it with Austin Drummond.
Yay, I'm excited.
All
I'm
right,
looking forward to it.
See you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, that concludes our Saturday night hangout. Of course, we talked about some serious topics tonight, but I hope that we can kind of end on people feeling, like at least we still got to kind of decompress and have a couple laughs near the end, thanks to Local Mashado. But yeah, during the week, I'll be following the trial. I might post shorts. So if you're looking for, summaries like in a short form, I'll be able to kind of give you guys a little bit of what I can kind of gather in the trial this week. So it starts Monday, so I'll see you guys in Jen's chat and over at Defense Diaries for a law tuber's perspective. So hype that the video, and I'll talk to you guys later.